time change thing has me all mixed up. So I gotta ask, what time is it?
It's Pod Blast time. That's right. It's Pod Blast time. I'm your host, Chance Bartels, with you today or tonight, whenever you might be listening. We got a good one for you today, as Steve Harvey might say. There's been a lot going on lately, and the reason I was playing the Mission Impossible 1988 version from the ABC revival on ABC television was because I want to talk with you about movies about heists and robberies. Didn't you ever fantasize about pulling off the perfect scam or heist like on a Vegas casino or something like that? Or somebody that deserved to get ripped off? I know I did. And there's been plenty of movies throughout the years that did just that. Like even bank robbery movies like the classic Dog Day Afternoon with Al Pacino. A more recent one from 2018, The Widows, which is really awesome, about a team of women that pull off the ultimate heist. Of course, Thief with the late James Caan, who passed away not too long ago. Point Break, Dead Presidents, The Getaway, the original and the remake. Ocean's 11, the 2006 Mission Impossible, first movie with Tom Cruise. That was a good one. Hell, even the Pink Panther, the original Pink Panther, the big heist on the diamond. Remember that? Well, what are your favorite movies about a robbery or a heist? And there's lots of TV shows that had heists too. Like, don't laugh, but there was actually a pretty entertaining 3-part crossover of the BJ and the Bear and Misadventures of Sheriff Lobo shows titled Run for the Money. I'll be brief here, but that was about a heist of the now defunct Dunes Hotel in Las Vegas, Nevada. And in the plot, if you can call it a plot, B.J. McKay, the trucker with the monkey, with the chimpanzee bear, was hauling a nerve gas to a policeman's convention in Las Vegas. And a woman on a hang glider lands on top of his truck as he stops to what he thinks help a stranded female motorist who actually is part of this plot to steal this nerve gas from his truck. And what happens is they're successful, these women, at stealing the nerve gas, which is later used to knock everyone out in the middle of a casino so that these women can rob the casino of millions of dollars. Anyway, we'll talk about movie scams later. We're not going to talk so much about television. Also, I have a big, huge guest announcement I'm so excited about. It'll be here at a special time, this guest, on Thursday, November 18th, as we're live, at 4 o'clock Eastern Time, 1 o'clock Pacific Time, Hollywood time. And I just can't wait. I'll tell you towards the end of the show who it is. This won't be a long pod blast. This is just basically an update. I've already written my questions for approval for my guest, and everything's been approved. So I'm super excited about that. But let's talk about some anniversaries. As we're live, we're towards the end of November 2022. I don't like to mention dates because by design, I want this show not to be dated. I want you to be able to listen to this in the winter, the summer, the spring, or the fall, and have it be informative and hopefully a little bit entertaining. And this is the Nostalgic Show with a bite, because it bites. No, because I don't hold back. We're a non-political show. We want to embrace everybody, whether you're right or wrong. And of course, my name, as I mentioned, is Chance Bartels, no relation to Chance the Rapper. The phone number is 770-438-1050 if you want to call in about anything. But I would really like to know what your favorite movie about a scam or a heist is and why. And I have a list later on in the show we'll go over together. One's from Rotten Tomatoes and one is my list. And I sort of talked about some of my movies there in the intro that I just love. But let's talk about this movie. There was an anniversary on November 13th, back on November 13th, depending on when you're listening to this. On November 13th, 1971, the Steven Spielberg directed movie debuted on television. And it essentially was Jaws on the highway. And the movie was called Duel, D-U-E-L. And in Duel, there's an unseen murderous trucker terrorizing an innocent man played by Dennis Weaver on the road. And he's driving just a basic Plymouth vehicle against this Peterbilt 1955 truck. We'll talk about that truck in a moment. The screenplay for Duel was written by Richard Matheson, who some of you might know from The Twilight Zone. He wrote a lot of excellent scripts. He's an author, a published, accomplished, award-winning author, not just in science fiction, but in all different realms. But he's known for science fiction. And so Richard Matheson adapted his own short story of Duel for television. It was produced by Universal TV. And as I said, Duel originally aired as part of the ABC Movie of the Week series back on Saturday, November 13th, 1971. And what's brilliant about Duel is that a truck or a semi is not something that you instinctively fear, unlike a shark in Jaws, the masterpiece that just a few years later, shot in 1974, that Steven Spielberg would bring to pop culture. Land, and it's such a great, it's one of the best movies of all time, Jaws. But a shark is something that we know is a threat. You don't think of a truck or a semi-truck. These days you do. I mean, you see all these ads on television for law firms or a guy standing, a lawyer on top of a truck. It's terrifying, I know. Well, give us a call if you've had an incident with a truck or a renegade trucker. I have no problem with truckers, but getting back to Duel, and then we'll move along to the topic at hand. There was a time when the Incredible Hulk TV show, which is also a Universal television show, used stock footage from Duel, which actually caused Steven Spielberg to alter his contract so that no future production, no matter who owned the project he worked on, could use any footage he shot as stock footage. Now, here's the story. And this is from digitalfix.com. And the author or writer of this article is a woman named Fiona Underhill. And this was published on June 6th, 2022. It's hard to imagine today, but a significant set piece, the finale, no less, of an acclaimed director's work was once considered stock footage. It could be regurgitated in a fairly low-budget television series. Ooh, that was a slam on The Incredible Hulk, which I don't agree with. While it was Steven Spielberg's first film, and he had directed, by the way, I'm interjecting here, he had directed the very first Night Gallery, a segment of it. There were 3 stories. It was a TV movie back in 1969. He directed Joan Crawford, and he directed one of the early Columbo segments. But let's get back to this article about Duel. It was Steven Spielberg's first film. Duel has since gone on to achieve something of a cult status. But in 1978, it was still considered a television special and fair game for use in the Incredible Hulk TV show, as they were both under Universal's umbrella of intellectual property. I added that. Duel was actually an ABC Movie of the Week, first televised in 1971. While a section of a movie or a show could be considered stock footage, it doesn't involve principal actors. Duel stars really are the car and the truck. And in the days before the prolific use of CGI, computer-generated imagery, using stock footage of an explosion or a natural disaster was a time and cost-saving measure. Look at Irwin Allen. I mean, going back to the 60s, he reused his own stuff all the time on his shows like Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea and Time Tunnel, Land of the Giants, Lost in Space. Anyway, I digress. So this was a standard practice in film and television back then. However, The Incredible Hulk used 10 or 12 minutes of Duel footage, including one 8-minute sequence. It used approximately 218 cuts of our film. The material was instantly recognizable, including the entire climax of our picture, according to Duel's producer, Mr. George Eckstein, who was a producer on The Fugitive back in the 60s. He made that quote in a New York Times article first published back in 1978. Kenneth Johnson, the creator of The Incredible Hulk, said, quote, "Certainly most of the audience would not remember a 7-year-old movie. I was just trying to save money and shooting time. Both problems in a 6-day television show. In retrospect, we probably used too much and would be more cautious in the future," unquote. So that was a quote back from 1978. Now, this Hulk episode, I'm interjecting here through my own knowledge. It was titled "Never Give a Trucker an Even Break" from season 1 of The Incredible Hulk, which also was noteworthy, that episode, because at the end of the episode, instead of the usual lonely man piano, downbeated, downright depressing ending, that particular episode, "Never Give a Trucker an Even Break," had an upbeat final shot accompanied with happy music and a smiling David Banner leaving with the woman whose life his character had saved. He'd saved her life. And that actress playing that woman that Banner saves was Jennifer Darling, who I knew was a deadly fembot robot on The Bionic Woman and The $6 Million Man. But Jennifer in human form on those Bionic shows was Oscar Goldman's secretary, Peggy Callahan. That was her character on that show. And for a while, she was briefly typecast as a secretary in that role, since she also was Tom Bradford's secretary on 8 is Enough in the Sacramento newspaper that he ran, a fictional newspaper, on the hit ABC dramedy series, I can't talk tonight, which lasted for 5 seasons. And Tom Bradford on that show, 8 is Enough, was portrayed by Dick Van Patten. Back to the article. Mr. Eckstein said, quote, "The principals in our film were the car and the truck, just as the shark is the principal in Jaws. I guess I'm most upset because there are not too many things you do in television that you can take pride in," which is interesting to hear, as television and attitudes towards TV have changed significantly since the 1970s. While Spielberg and Eckstein could not fight the use of Duel on legal grounds, since Universal owned both of those properties, it did lead Steven Spielberg to change his contract with Universal so that, quote, "No one can cannibalize my films and regurgitate them into some other show. I'd hate to see the mothership from Close Encounters land on Laverne and Shirley 5 years from now," unquote. Now, like I said, Universal owned both properties, so there was no crime. It was perfectly legal to use that footage as they saw fit. But getting back to Duel, it actually was released in movie theaters in Europe, and there's a very cool 1-minute preview that was edited. It's very visual, but I love the sound effects of the semi-truck, so I'll play it in just a moment. But the truck in Duel, you may be wondering, as I said, was a 1955 Peterbilt 281. And the Incredible Hulk production actually found that truck and used it in new material that they shot to match with the stock footage from Duel. And same with the red car that actor Dennis Weaver was driving, the guy who was terrorized by the insane trucker. So think Unhinged by Russell Crowe, a more recent movie about road rage I saw with our friend Al Hardy in the cinema. Man, that was a wicked movie. If Unhinged, I think it's streaming maybe on HBO Max. That's worth a look if you like thrillers. But the red car that Dennis Weaver was driving, that was a 1970 red Plymouth Valiant. And this was one of Dennis Weaver's first film roles after he left the television series Gunsmoke. Now, some quick factoids about Duel. Parker Brothers merchandised the film with a board game, and it didn't sell well, but some examples of it do exist, and it's very, very scarce. You could find on eBay. Now, the actor playing the terrorizing trucker was a man named Kerry Lofton, who at the time was a 50-year-old stunt driver. Now, Steven Spielberg wanted the victim, David Mann, that's the character played by Dennis Weaver, he wanted that car to be red so that it would stand out in wide shots on desert highways. And I guess the same could be said for Lois Lane's red car in Superman the movie, when her car is scooped up by the earthquake in the desert. Anyway, but filming for Duel only took 12 days, and that remains Steven Spielberg's personal best benchmark of how quickly he can shoot a film. So let's listen to that clip of Duel. This is the theatrical European trailer. And again, it's visual, but there's some killer audio in it, and it's only 60 seconds long. And I want to play that here on the anniversary of the TV movie Duel.
bus, please. Please, come on. Come on, back in the bus.
A freaking terrifying movie. That's a cool trailer. I love the audio in that. And I love trucks. So let's talk about something more modern, but there's a nostalgic twist to this because this is the Nostalgic Pod Blast. And I appreciate everyone listening here on fistfulofradio.com or Apple Podcasts, wherever you might be hearing us. And if you want to see the comic books I'm about to show, it's in our YouTube channel, The Nostalgic Pod Blast, in our Facebook group, The Nostalgic Pod Blast. And there's a lot of people watching as we're live. I'm going to acknowledge and ask you, what's your favorite movie about a heist or a burglary or a robbery? I'd really like to know. So, Black Panther 2 Wakanda Forever hit box office gold, as expected. Won't spend a whole lot of time on this, but Ryan Coogler's highly anticipated sequel titled Black Panther Wakanda Forever opened with a blockbuster $180 million at the domestic box office in North America, according to ComScore. And that marks the second highest debut for 2022 so far, followed behind another Marvel title, Doctor Strange Into the Multiverse of Madness, which opened with a mystical $185 million back in May of 2022. At the global box office, Wakanda Forever earned $330 million so far, just in the opening weekend, which included a Thursday. So those are 4-day figures, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Previously, the first Black Panther film shattered box office records in 2018, earning $218 million over a long holiday weekend, and it became the highest grossing superhero film in the United States worldwide. No, I'm sorry, in the United States. I can't read tonight. I'm not good. Worldwide, the first Black Panther grossed $1.3 billion. So, Mr. Martin Scorsese and Mr. Quentin Tarantino, who have gone on the record blasting Marvel movies on you. You never have and never will see box office like this. That's not to say they're not fabulous artists, but the MCU produces guaranteed hits. Because if you know the source material, which is a major force in pop culture past and present, you know that Marvel Studios are, for the most part, giving the fans a very satisfactory product. And haters are going to hate. God bless them. But the high and mighty defenders of the cinema have to realize that this is good storytelling. They want you to believe, oh, all the Marvel movies are the same. It's all crap. It's all fluff. There's no substance to it. And I highly disagree with that sentiment. Marvel Studios are giving the fans exactly what they want. And I tell you what, it's like P.T. Barnum, right? Always leave them wanting more and give the people what they want. Those are just the principles in supply and demand in terms of entertainment. And these are good stories in the MCU Marvel Comics universe. Now, guys, Tarantino and Scorsese, not that they'll ever hear my words, but I get jealous too. So I get their frustration and their angst. I mean, they make killer movies, no pun intended, but they just don't make the money for the studios that the Marvel movies do. And that's okay. That's okay. So the villain in Black Panther 2 Wakanda Forever is a fishy guy called the Submariner. And he's an underwater enemy. He's kind of like Aquaman, except he's more on the villainous side. Now I'm going to play some audio in a moment of how Submariner sounded in the past, back in 1966 to be exact, and what he sounds like today in the new movie, Wakanda Forever, in the MCU. And as I do this, playing this audio, I'm going to show, for those that are watching, some comic book covers from my collection. For those watching in the Nostalgic Pod Blast YouTube channel or in Facebook Live in the Nostalgic Pod Blast official Facebook group, you'll see that Submariner once in the comics teamed up with Doctor Doom, who in my opinion is the best comic book villain besides the Joker. And the first time that Doctor Doom teamed up with Submariner was way back in Fantastic Four issue number 6 in 1962, which was the second appearance of Doctor Doom. And then a decade later, in the 70s, in a comic book series titled Supervillain Team Up, which for the first 10 issues was Doctor Doom and Submariner teaming up to do all sorts of crazy bad things in the Marvel universe of comic books. Also, Submariner changed his costume in the 1970s for the better. It was a more aerodynamic suit and less like Greg Louganis in spandex. You'll see in a moment, anyone that's watching. Also, you'll see Marvel comic books from February 1968, which was Submariner issue number 1, and October 1976, which was Black Panther issue number 1. Those were not the first appearances of those characters, they're just the first issues of their own independent comic book title from Marvel Comics. Also, I'm going to show you some Black Panther covers that I love. But first, here's some brief history about the villain, Submariner. A lot of people, like our friend Al Hardy, he said, I'm just not interested in Black Panther. He didn't understand what it would be about. He didn't care for the first film, and that's okay. This is not an insult. And he may call in and talk about some recent movies and things that he's got on his mind. But this really is kind of about the villain. And he's basically from Atlantis. So let me just get to the audio here in a second. Now, I can't wait to show you this artwork in these comic books. Also, later in the show, we're going to acknowledge a lot of deaths like Gallagher. If you're watching on camera, you'll see a picture of a DVD set I have, The Best of Gallagher. I've been a fan of his forever, since watching the Showtime specials when I was a kid. And he was more than just a prop comic, but we'll talk about that later. Let's see. Oh, some history about Submariner. A lot of people thought that Aquaman was first on the DC Comics side and that Submariner came along later. And as I've mentioned in previous podcasts, that's not the case. They were close in history in terms of when they hit the scene, but Submariner was first. He was introduced back in October 1939 in Marvel Comics issue number 1. And that wasn't the Marvel Comics we know of today, and that really was formed in 1961. It became Marvel Comics when the Marvel Age of Comics and the Silver Age of Comics started with Fantastic Four issue number 1. No. Marvel Comics was just the title of a book, and Submariner was in it. And also into the 40s, he fought the Nazis in the World War II effort, of course, in fiction. So he's been around for a long, long time. Now, the Submariner facsimile, Aquaman, from competitor DC Comics, hit the scene in the comic book title More Fun Comics. What a silly title. More Fun Comics. Oh, more fun. More fun. Fun. More Fun Comics issue number 73 saw the first appearance of Aquaman in November 1941. So that's about 2 years after Submariner. So Submariner was first. And then the Black Panther, you're like, what about the Black Panther? The movie's about the Black Panther. Well, he was introduced in Fantastic Four issue number 52 from April of 1966. Stan Lee brought Submariner back after a long hiatus in 1962 in Fantastic Four issue number 4. And what I liked about Submariner in those comics that Stan Lee wrote was he was a bit of a horn dog for a character named Sue Storm. That was her original maiden name. And she was the Invisible Girl, the original title of her character in Fantastic Four. And Reed Richards later proposed to Susan Storm and married her, but for a while there was a love triangle. But Sue Storm did actually consider getting with Namor, and really I think it was three dudes after Susan Storm. I think it was Doctor Doom in a way, which is outlandish, Submariner, and Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic. But pretty soon we will see the Fantastic Four on the big screen again. It really was done poorly in the early 2000s and by 20th Century Fox. But now that Disney has thankfully absorbed the rights to the Fantastic Four, they're going to do it right. They've been setting it up. They've been planting little seeds in the streaming shows and the movies. So really exciting stuff. But let's get to the clip so I can show you some of these comic books. This is from the 1966 cartoon. Now, the guy that voices Submariner will sound familiar to you. I've mentioned in previous shows who it is, and you probably will know, and you could quickly Google. But don't do that. Don't do that. Let me reveal to you who this is and see if you can tell by the audio who is voicing Submariner. And I'm going to do a comparison of how Submariner sounds in the movie, the brand new movie Wakanda Forever. Starkly different. But here's a little bit of the 1966 cartoon as I show some comic books for those that are watching.
Stronger than a whale, he can swim anywhere.
He can breathe underwater and go flying through the air.
The noble submariner, drift of the deep, will be waiting every season. For sailor of Atlantis is the prince of the deep.
And where do you live?
I cannot remember.
Submariner's passed out on a beach. He needs water to survive and thrive. I cannot talk. I'm so tongue-tied. Forgive me. Jeez, I'm not good.
And as night dissolves into morning...
Hey, buddy, there's a law about sleeping on the beach. Come on your feet. What's your name, and where do you live?
I cannot remember.
A trip to the station might refresh your memory.
Unhand me, no one touches my person.
And nobody strikes an officer of the law. You're under arrest.
Think you your puny weapons can frighten me?
Brother, that does it. I'll book you for... Hey, what the... Come out here! I don't believe it. I just don't believe it.
He can fly.
I tell you, Captain, the guy had wings on his feet. He just up and flew away.
Yes, that's him, all right.
Him? Who?
The Submariner. I wonder what brought him back to the surface.
You mean he came out of the sea?
That's right, and he has little love for surface people. There's no telling what he's up to, but you can be sure it's no good. Put out an all-points bulletin for Namor, the Submariner.
I know not who I am, nor where I am, but I do know that I am in a world unfriendly to me, and somewhere in this alien world is what I seek. But what? And where?
At last, he has returned. My chance has come. Ah, Freddy and George, I have a most important job for you.
The Submariner is back?
Quite correct. And you must find him before the police do.
How will we recognize him?
It would be very difficult to make a mistake. However, to erase any doubt, study this picture.
I see what you mean.
Remember, whatever happens, you must not fail.
If he's out there, we'll find him.
My head, it throbs like the restless tides.
It throbs.
And though this compulsion grows stronger, I still know not what it is that I seek.
It's him! The Submariner! They're on the roof! Radio Captain Barnes!
I must elude them. But if I fly, they will follow. I shall take my chances in here. I must keep out of sight.
The Submariner has been sighted on a rooftop at 5th and Clover. Police are on the way. We ask all citizens to stay clear of the area. Step on it, George. We've got to get there first.
So that was John Vernon voicing Submariner. Let me just real quick, listen.
Hey, buddy, there's a law about sleeping on the beach. Come on your feet. What's your name, and where do you live?
I cannot remember.
Okay, that, I'll just go ahead and tell you, that was John Vernon, who a lot of you may know from Animal House as the Dean. Great voice, great pipes, and he was the voice of Submariner in 1966, which that cartoon show really wasn't very animated. They literally took pages of a comic book and just strung them along and moved the mouths. It was a very, very, very low budget show. But that's John Vernon. Now I want to play how Submariner sounds in the movies these days. And the actor's fantastic who plays him. But I have just a bit of a shocking comparison. Let's see, where is it? Here we go. This is a little clip from Black Panther 2 Wakanda Forever. Here's the voice of Submariner.
Stop! Right there!
Angela Bassett.
And how did you get in here?
This place is amazing. The air is pristine. And the water. My mother told stories about a place like this. A protected land with people that never have to leave. That never have to change who they were. What reason do you have to reveal your secret to the world?
I am not a woman who enjoys repeating herself. Who are you?
I have many names. My people call me Khan. But my enemies call me Namor.
Okay. No, don't get me wrong. It's Speedy Gonzalez at sea. Ladies and gents, no, I'm not being a douche about race. Listen, I'm not. I like this actor, Tenoch Huerta, and his fine acting and look. It's just his voice was a little off-putting. I mean, someone should have given him some lessons in diction. And honestly, I mean, it's just hard to understand the man at times. And listen, if you're honest, you'll agree. Just a slight complaint. And I've said the same thing about Mark Wahlberg in his earlier roles, like in the movie Fear. So this is not a race thing. So please hold your remarks on that. But I mean, was he not hard to understand? And I'm used to a different interpretation of the character. So I have no issue with him being as an Aztec or I'm probably talking myself into a corner, and I don't mean to. I don't want to be misunderstood. Just, you got to admit that was a little hard to understand. And I don't like the way that Namor is pronounced, but whatever. Now, the movie was great. It was very, very emotional. I'm not going to give any spoilers here. I really liked how Namor was dealt with. And he needs water to thrive and survive, as I said earlier. So I like how one of the heroes, I'm not going to say who it is, a hero in the movie finds a way to deprive him of water and put heat on him. And it's a great, great weapon. And I like how that was filmed. Like basically Namor is trapped in a flying ship, and he looks overhead and you see like these machines that are giving off great, great heat, and it causes a problem. However, I will say this, and this is a bit of a spoiler. There's something that's preposterous in the movie, and it was a great, great movie. It really was. One of the main characters is speared by Submariner through the gut, impaled. And it's never explained how they survived that fatal blow. We can explain it away as fanboys and fangals about how it might have done. But I think for the layman, for any just average, ordinary moviegoer that's not hip to the MCU or the comic books, you would wonder how the hell did this person survive that? I mean, they're literally impaled, and the way that it's shot and acted, you're convinced this person's about to die that was impaled. But no, and then they just bounce back. No problem, no strain, no pain. Yes, we suspend our disbelief. These are superhero movies. But there's so much realism in these super movies that it takes you aback when there's a glaring... Now, there might have been a cut scene that will be in the Blu-ray or home video version. There might very well have been a scene, because the movie is 2 hours and 40 minutes long, not including the trailers. With the previews and everything, it's probably closer to 3 hours. But it flies by. The pacing is good. The acting is great, and there's a lot of tragedy in it that I won't elaborate on at this time, but I highly recommend Wakanda Forever. Some have said it's the best sequel ever. I won't go that far, but it is a strong, strong sequel. And I wasn't trying to be hard on the interpretation of Namor, but I thought that he's a little bit difficult to understand. I'm not saying they should have dubbed his voice, but just maybe give him some lessons there. So let's move on to something else. And let's see. Oh, I'm going to play some music as I take a mini break. This is from a classic game show, and I'm not going to be long with this, but I'm going to mention something that was very interesting I saw on a rerun of this classic game show. No, this is not a porno movie. This is a theme song to a classic game show that runs on Buzzer at 1 o'clock in the afternoon every single day, including weekends. Whoopsie. Okay, I'm back. Hey, that's Tattletales, and that was a show I've recently discovered for the first time. I know a lot of older folks, and I'm old too, know about this show, but it was hosted by Bert Convy, and it was kind of like there would be three couples, and one would be backstage with headphones on with music where they couldn't hear what's going on, and the object is you match the answer of your spouse or girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever. And just to be quick, you'd be shocked at some of the big stars that appeared on this show back in the day. And like I said, it airs on Buzzer every day at 1 p.m. And Bert Convy, who died in 1991, he later would host a game show, Super Password. He hosted it. I mean, James Brown was on there, and he was funny as hell on that show. But what surprised me, these are brand new episodes. I say brand new, my God, they're from fall of 1975, but they haven't really aired since their original air date. And Buzzer has been running brand new to their network, never before seen episodes of Tattletales, and Lee Grant was on. And this surprised me. She is a very accomplished actor, an actress, whatever you want to call her, actress, actor. And she was just about to win an Oscar award for the movie Shampoo, which she won in 1976. And she was hilarious on that show. I was just surprised to see her. She would have been in her 40s at that point in time. She's still alive. Now, about this show, a lot of couples got divorced, and the joke was, there was a curse. If you appeared on Tattletales, you were headed for a divorce, like Shatner and Marcy, his one of his ex-wives. And there's a long list of people that appeared on that show that wound up, and they fight on it, and it was really entertaining, and it holds up to this day. Even though it's old, it's funny to see these stars young. Like you had James Brolin, and there's many that I'm forgetting, but I've always loved Lee Grant's acting, and she was so funny in that show, and they just played those last week, and I was laughing my ass off, even though it's old as hell. And she was on there with her husband Joe, and they're both still together and still alive, which is great. Now, Lee Grant, one of the movies that freaked me out she was in was The Omen 2. All those supernatural devil movies really freaked me out, and I won't watch them anymore. But when I was younger, I would watch the Omen trilogy, and it just freaked me out at the end of Omen 2, where she stabs William Holden's character and says, "I've always belonged to him." And then she gets blown up and caught on fire. Chilling stuff. But aside from that movie, Lee Grant was also in a great Fugitive episode with another guest star, Tim O'Connor, who later would play Dr. Hewer and Buck Rogers in the 25th Century, but he played like a crazy guy who was disfigured in the face when a grenade went off in his face in Korea. But I digress. Anyway, it was cool to see Lee Grant and James Brown on those Tattletales reruns. They're worth a DVR if you catch Buzzer. Here in Atlanta, it's on the Fox 5 affiliate. It's a sub-channel, and it's free over the air. And Xfinity Comcast picks it up on channel 234, I believe. It's a great, great channel. Anyway, item. Now, I've got to tell you about a quick deal. that's going to expire soon. A little birdie told me. I'm going to talk about Remind Magazine. Remind Magazine is awesome. And for a limited time, you can give for the holidays or birthday or whatever you want to give it for, or just to be a good friend to a buddy, for only $12 for an entire year. Not a month, for an entire year. Now, if you're here in the Nostalgic Pod Blast, the chances are you like nostalgia. And this monthly magazine, Remind Magazine, is just chock full of interesting articles, games, full-color photos, interviews with your favorite stars of the past, and creators of your favorite shows, and other personalities. And there's just lots of great reading material. And it's written on an adult level. And there are also, like I said, there's games and crossword puzzles. And it offers you fresh takes on popular entertainment from days gone by. And they focus on the 1950s to the 1990s. That's their wheelhouse in Remind Magazine. And like I said, there's brain-teasing puzzles, quizzes, comic books, comics, all that stuff. But the best part is it comes to you old school in the mail each and every month. They don't skip months. I used to subscribe as a kid to like Dynamite and Mad Magazine, and they would skip months. No, this is a 12-time-a-year monthly subscription that you're going to get with Remind Magazine. So here, I'll give you some details. It's a lot more, I won't say expensive, because it's really, even the cover price, the regular price is not that expensive. But if you were to go, because I know that Barnes & Noble is one of the newsstands that carries Remind Magazine, as well as many, many others in the USA. But you certainly can't get it for $1 an issue at the newsstand. That's just a heck of a deal. So a buck per month is an extremely hot deal, but you better act fast, because this will expire soon. And here's how you can subscribe or give as a birthday gift, retirement gift, or for whatever reason. Just go to remindmagazine.com or call toll-free 855-773-6463. And you can order over the phone with a really nice specialist using your Visa or MasterCard or American Express, Discover card, or just go to their secure page that I mentioned at remindmagazine.com. But that phone number again is 855-773-6463, and an order specialist will assist you in processing your Remind subscription. And please mention the Nostalgic Pod Blast when you order. And the last thing I'll say is that the person you give it to, Remind Magazine, they'll think of you all year round, and they'll think you spent a hell of a lot more than $12. Seriously. I mean, it's slick, full color. It's a great, great publication. On the cover, the front and back, it's slick, and then it's full color inside. So anyway, back to this edition of the Nostalgic Pod Blast. I want to share some music history with you. And here are some notable music history notes. Let's start with November 13th. On November 13th, 1937, NBC formed the first full-sized symphony orchestra exclusively for radio broadcasting. The conductor for its first 17 years was Arturo Toscani. Wow. On November 13th, 1968, the Beatles animated movie Yellow Submarine premiered in the USA. That was a weird movie, man. Remember the Blue Meanies and stuff? I couldn't make sense of that movie even when I'm sober. I mean, that movie is just a trip. Also November 13th, in 1971, Three Dog Nights, Old-Fashioned Love Song, was released. In 1973, on November 13th, this is sad, Jerry Lee Lewis Jr. was killed in a highway accident near Hernando, Mississippi. On November 13th, 1974, an imposter posing as Deep Purple guitar player Richie Blackmore, who I loved later in Rainbow, smashed up a borrowed Porsche in Iowa City. November 13th, 1985, at New York's Whitney Museum, an exhibition opened celebrating Bob Dylan's 25 years in the music industry. I'm not going to be like our friend Al Hardy and say, I didn't care for that. But he's an acquired taste, I think, Bob Dylan, and I respect him as a poet and an artist. I really do, but that voice, I just couldn't dig it. Let's move on to November 14th in music history. November 14th, 1961, the Elvis Presley film Blue Hawaii premiered. On November 14th, 1962, Bob Dylan recorded the song Mixed Up Confusion, and it was released as a single on December 14th, 1962. November 14th, 1970, Santana's Black Magic Woman was released. November 14th, 1990, The Who's Pete Townsend confessed his bisexuality to Newsweek magazine. November 14th, 1992, John, the keyboardist of John Mellencamp's band, was found dead in his car in the state of Indiana. It is believed that he died of a heart attack. On November 14th, 2000, the trial of Michael Abram began. He had attacked George Harrison and his wife at their home in Britain on December 30th, 1999. I thought that was more recent than that. My gosh, how time flies. That was a terrible, terrible incident. Thank God justice was served. On November 14th, 2000, Marilyn Manson's released Holy Wood in the Shadow of the Valley of Death. In the Valley of Shadow Death. The cover of the album was banned by several retail chains due to the cover art. The banning chains released an alternative cover, and the cover depicts, of course, Charles Manson on a crucifix. Now moving on to November 15th, the music history. November 15th, 1956, Elvis Presley made his acting debut in the premiere of the Love Me Tender movie. November 15th, 1965, the Rolling Stones made their debut on NBC TV's Hula Baloo television show. The band performed Get Off My Cloud. And in 1969, Janis Joplin was arrested in Tampa, Florida on charges of using vulgar and indecent language at a concert. All charges were eventually dropped. November 15th, 1971, Grand Funk Railroad released their sixth album. And in 1975, on November 15th, ABBA were guests on American Bandstand. They performed SOS and I Do, I Do, I Do, I Do, I Do. November 15th, 1986, the Beastie Boys released their record License to Ill. Man, I got to play some of the Beasties on my mute show, Retro Music Cuts, on fistfulofradio.com. on the weekends, and some evenings, Tuesdays and Thursdays, you can hear the music show, Retro Music Cuts. There's no talk, no ads. It's just nonstop. It's just nonstop music. It's good stuff, and we're always welcome to requests. So we're about to get to the topic at hand: heist movies, the best movies of all time that dealt with a heist or a robbery, whether it's a bank robbery or a vault or jewels. We're going to talk about that in just a moment, but just a few more music history notes. November 15th, 1988, Metallica's North American tour, Damaged Justice, opened in Toledo, Ohio. The tour was supporting the album And Justice for All, with Queensryche opening as the opening act. On November 16th, 1959, the musical The Sound of Music opened on Broadway. On November 16th, 1973, David Bowie appeared in his first TV special titled 1980 Floor Show, and it was broadcast on NBC's Midnight Special. November 16th, 1974, Stevie Wonder's Boogie on Reggae Woman was released. November 16th, 1988, Stan Love, former Beach Boys manager and the brother of lead singer Mike Love, was sentenced to 5 years probation for embezzling more than $300,000 from the band. November 17th, 1974, ABBA began their first tour of Europe, and it was also their first tour outside of Sweden, their native land. November 17th, 1980, John Lennon's album, the year he was sadly murdered, his album Double Fantasy was released. November 17th, 1991, the Blue Man Group performed its first show at the Astor Place Theater in New York. Man, they're a great act. And what a strange-looking group with that makeup and everything. And their artistry is just incredible. The things they can do live on stage, it's just astounding. And the final music history note, November 17th, 1998, Garth Brooks released the album Garth Brooks Double Live. I used to love live albums, man. whether it's Peter Frampton or Queen. Like, they typically would be a double album. Excuse me. I loved live. That's before YouTube, and you know that was back in the day, boy. So that's our music history for this edition. So what we're going to do now, I'm going to talk about what I call mule piss. Excuse my French. It's a gross analogy. Tab Diet Soda. Thank goodness it was discontinued by the Coca-Cola Company back on Thursday, December 31st, 2020. Tab was created in 1963 to compete with RC Cola's Diet Right beverage. But the sweetener, the artificial sweetener saccharin, which was originally used, was linked to causing cancer, which later was actually disproven. But in the 1970s, Tab was available, get this, in 6 different flavors. Lemon lime, root beer, black cherry Tab, orange flavored Tab, ginger ale Tab, and strawberry. And there was a caffeine-free version of Tab introduced in 1983, and a clear version of Tab hit store shelves in 1992. Remember Clear Pepsi? I need to do a post about that. What a gimmick. And I guess it was smart marketing to make it different. But, you know, it's kind of like, there's a rumor that Yellow 5, which is the ingredient in Mountain Dew and in Mellow Yellow, can shrink a man's manhood. And I'll leave it at that. We try to keep this as a family show, but that's just anatomy, part of anatomy that supposedly is affected by Yellow 5. But now it's time to get serious, and I have a few notable, just four this time. And I'm going to skip birthdays this time because that makes the show so long. And, you know, there's other people that do birthdays, like our friend Curtis at the Retro Zest podcast. Go to retrozest.com. He's an ally of this program, and he does a really good job, and he gets a lot of fantastic guests on his show, and he really does a good job with pop music, and, you know, he's a good person, and I appreciate everything he does for the Nostalgic Pod Blast. He's a brother. So now let's get serious, and we got to talk about Gallagher and some other folks that passed away. Sorry about that hum, folks. And we got to start with this. I'm going to fix that hum. Oh. Gallagher has died. I'm sure you've heard of it by now. And I'm serious. It sounds like I'm being a phony baloney, but I was a big fan of his. Many think of Gallagher as just a prop comic who smashed thousands of watermelons on stage. And that's not the case. Gallagher, and I'm going to play a clip in a moment, actually made very original and shrewd comedic observations, in addition to his sledge-o-matic bits. I loved his Showtime cable specials, like I talked about earlier, and he did a great bit stuck in the 60s. He did a routine stuck in the 1960s, and he did a whole lot more. And I want to play a clip now, perfect timing, of Gallagher in his own words, doing a bit on the English language. And I did play this way back in the Podblast I did over a year ago about comedians. Comedians Part 1. It's a bit of a raw Nostalgic Pod Blast based on the clips I played of great classic comedians like Rodney Dangerfield and Gallagher. But I want to play a little bit of audio here of Gallagher as we're live. So let me pull that up and just check this out. I'm going to play 2 clips of Gallagher as we remember him. Here it is. Here's the first one.
I said, that's Little. She said, why do they call them cowboys? Cows is girls, bulls is boys. Ought to be cowgirls and bull boys. Why do they call a statue a bust when it stops right before the part it'd be named after? Why do they call them buildings when they're already done building them? Ought to call them built. Why do they call it a TV set when you only get one? And why do they call a woman's prison a penal colony?
That's a good one.
I ended up getting a degree in English literature finally because I like the language. It's a good language. In fact, it's an advantage we have over the Japanese because theirs is dumber than ours. I remember I went there the first day to learn to read. I was real excited. I was going to learn to read. I didn't know about sex, so this was it. I was going to learn to read. Oh, boy, I'm ready to go. And she says, okay, your first word you're going to learn to read is big. Oh, boy, I know big already. I know the meaning, so I got ready. She went, 1 thing, 2 things, 3 things. I said, damn, that's little for big. I said, that's little. She said, no, this is little. It was twice as big. As big. I said, this is gonna be hard. But I knew it was because I tried to learn to read ahead of time. I'd ask my dad signs on the roadside, what does that say, Dad? He'd say, good food. I say, why? They both end in O-O-D. Those words ought to rhyme. It ought to be good food. Or good food.
Yeah.
Why is it good food? It doesn't matter. Why should I be serious about the language if the language isn't serious enough to make sense? Right, gang?
Yeah.
Well, let's take the word bomb. B-O-M-B, right? Bomb? Bomb. B-O-M-B? All right. T-O-M-B. Tom? No. Tomb. All right. T-O-M-B. Tomb. C-O-M-B. Coom? Comb. All right. C-O-M-B. Comb. P-O-M-B. Poem? No. P-O-E-M. Poem. All right. P-O-E-M. Poem. H-O-E-M. Home? No. H-O-M-E. All right. H-O-M-E. Home. S-O-M-E. Some? No. Some. All right. S-O-M-E. Some. N-O-M-E. Numb? No. N-U-M-B.
He's right. Am I right? Is he right? He's right. Is he right or what? He's right. He's correct.
And it gets worse. W-O-R-S-E, worse. H-O-R-S-E, hearse. Horse. Laughter, L-A-U-G-H-T-E-R, laughter. D-A-U-G-H-T-E-R, dafter. No. N-U-M-B. Well, let's see. What are some others? A-C-H-E. Ache. Is this a mistake? No. Mustache. B-E-A-R-D. Beard. H-E-A-R-D. Herd. This is a bird. G-O. Let's get simple. G-O. Go. D-O. Do. Do. Now, this ain't 2 words off in the side of the corner we don't use anymore. This is go and do. All right. D-O. Do. N-O. New. No.
I just love that clip. God bless him. Let me, I got one other quick clip My clips are never quick, are they? I'm a liar. But let me get this queued up. All right, there, as we're live. All right. Just I want to quickly talk about some history of Gallagher, his personal history. Oh, geez. Hang on a second. Oh, we got to place it with the wires here. I'm about to have a collision here. There we go. There. Much better. So, Gallagher was born on Wednesday, July 24th, 1946 at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, to a family of Irish and Croatian heritage. Until the age of 9, Gallagher lived in Lorain, Ohio. And that's spelled Lorain, like low rain, like it's going to rain, Lorain, Ohio. But because of his asthma, the family moved to South Tampa, Florida, where he attended H.B. Plant High School. Gallagher went on to graduate from the University of South Florida with a chemical engineering degree in 1970. So he's not stupid. Gallagher minored in English literature, hence that bit I just played. He was a brilliant guy. And he often used in his skits that degree to mock the language, which you just heard him do. And after college, Gallagher began working as a comic and musician. Jim Stafford's road manager was another gig that Gallagher had. Now, Stafford and Gallagher traveled to California in 1969, during which time Gallagher decided to perform all by himself. And he began honing his own comedy act while frequenting both the Comedy Store and the Ice House. He performed twice on The Tonight Show when Johnny Carson was hosting, though Carson disliked prop comedy. Gallagher first appeared on The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson on December 5th, 1975, when he demonstrated his prop, Sledgehammer, in The Tonight Show home game. And again, he appeared on The Tonight Show on May 9th, 1979. And he also performed several times on the show when guest hosts were filling in for Johnny Carson. Gallagher was one of the most popular and recognizable American comedians during the 1980s. He did 14 comedy specials for Showtime pay cable service, which have been rebroadcast many, many times, notably on Comedy Central. Running for governor as an independent... Hang on a second, we got a call coming in. He ran for governor. Let me just take this call. The Nostalgic Pod Blast, you're on the air. I know who this is. This is my friend Al Hardy.
Who is this? It's me.
Don't you want to know what time it is?
Well, it's 10 o'clock. My bedtime almost. How about that?
No, it's Pod Blast time.
I know that.
So what's on your mind? I'm glad you called before you shut down for the day.
Well, you were talking about Gallagher. You know, I never really saw much of the talent in him. I guess it's because I'm not a big stand-up comic fan. I just never got into stand-up comics. Now, he did have some funny bits. I will give him that. And one thing he had going for him, he was born in God's country, North Carolina.
Yeah, Fort Bragg.
Yeah. And so that's not too far from Wilmington, where I grew up.
Well, that's the only nice thing you can say because you're glad that he was born near you.
No. I mean,
you make it about you.
I just never cared for him, but he was all right. I mean, I didn't care for the smashing of the watermelons or whatever he did with that. I thought that was kind of stupid. But I mean, some of his stand-up comic was okay. He was all right.
It was a shtick. It was a bit. But let me ask you this: did you watch many of his Showtime specials? Honestly,
maybe one or two. I've seen him before, so I can say that. But I just, like I said, I never was a big stand-up comic
fan.
You
mean overall? You're not a stand-up comedy guy.
Yes.
Okay. Well, he did have some really brilliant observations. We're gonna play one other clip after you hang up. But I thought he was really, really funny, and he ran for governor. He wasn't successful as an independent. I was about to mention that when you called. But I just didn't know if you're aware of the fact that he did a lot more than just prop comedy and smashing a bunch of watermelons.
Well, yeah, I have seen him perform in stand-up stuff before. But, like I said, I never was a big stand-up I went to one comedy club my whole life, and that was the Punchline. And I went there to see Waylon Flowers and Madam.
Okay. Yeah, with the puppet.
With a puppet. I mean, you know, he had two puppets. He had Madam, and he had a black puppet called Miss Jiffy. And it was I just about died laughing. It was so funny. Of course, he was kind of, dirty talk in the comedy club, but it was really good. So that's the one comedy club I went to since I've lived in Atlanta, which has been 40-some years.
And don't forget about our friend Jim Gossett. You've seen his show before,
Yeah,
newsmakerline.com.
he's talented. He is. I've seen him several times. And he's, of course, he's been on the show too here.
But I've seen you laugh at comedy bits, whether it's like an old kinescope of a Jackie Gleason show. I mean, there are people that tickle you.
I do, but I never watch stand-up comics on television. I mean, I can appreciate their talent, I suppose. But, like the Honeymooners and stuff, all that stuff is great.
The scripted stuff.
But I thought that was a great show back in the day,
Well, what about in more recent times? I mean, I know that you like Tim Allen. I mean, I'm talking about actors that do stand up, that actually started in stand up. David Letterman. Did you ever like the Late Night with David Letterman show? Did you ever watch that when you were younger?
Yeah, of course I did. Yeah, of course I did.
Did that make you laugh? Did you like that?
Oh, some of that stuff was funny. Yes. I mean, David had good writers. I'll give him that, and so did Johnny Carson.
And he was a writer himself. Now, they just had the anniversary, speaking of Late Night with David Letterman, the NBC show. There was the anniversary of the time that Sonny and Cher reunited and performed the song I've Got You, Babe. I remember seeing that. It was back in 1987, I believe. I remember recording that when I was in school and watched it when I got home from school. Anyway, whatever.
Dick Cavett was a writer for Carson for a long time before he made it big as a talk show host. He wrote a lot of the Carson bits.
You mean in the 60s?
Yeah, well, when Dick Cavett used to be a writer for the Tonight Show.
In the Steve Allen years too, or just?
No, I think it was just during Carson.
Okay.
Yeah, you can look it up, but I'm pretty sure it was just doing Carson. So.
Now, do you have any thoughts on any recent movies that you've seen while I have you on the line of the nostalgic bent?
Well, I heard you talking about
Wakanda.
The latest Marvel movie, Wakanda.
Yeah, Wakanda Forever.
Right. Like I said, I can appreciate Marvel movies. I'm not a huge fan like you are. I mean, because you're a comic book collector. But, I mean, I can watch them and appreciate them, but I'm not a huge fan of that genre, as you know. I mean, but I can enjoy them and watch them. I don't know. I'll probably go see it at some point. I know it was filmed all in Georgia and Savannah,
Brunswick,
Atlanta, and surrounding areas. So it was filmed here. And the one thing I do like about Marvel movies, it puts money in theater owners' pockets, which is always nice. It keeps the theaters going. That it does. So
excellent,
it helps out a lot.
Excellent. Well, later on, I think this is a topic you and I should do when we're at your studio, when you can think about it. But I'm going to talk about movies that dealt with heists, bank robberies, and things like that. Do you have just a heist movie that stands out in your mind? Because you're a big movie buff.
I like, Thief with James Caan was one that I liked. In fact, that was just on TCM not too long ago.
Very violent, with a lot of blood.
Movie came out in the 80s. But yeah, I can't think of any ones that I really like more than others off the top of my head. But
okay, well, think on it, and let's cover this topic later. We have a lot of comments coming in that I'll read of people that have chimed in on what their favorite heist or robbery movie would be.
Right, right. Well, the last movie I saw in the theaters, and I'm an AMC A-list member, and I need to. There hasn't been really a whole lot that I wanted to see. The last movie I saw in the theater was called Amsterdam, and I don't know, it's probably not your kind of movie, but it's got a wonderful cast in it, and Christian Bale is absolutely marvelous in the movie. He was so good. It's a period movie. It takes place in the 30s. It's got great cinematography, and it's just a very enjoyable movie. Amsterdam. I'll go into that later. But I watch a lot of movies on Netflix and Prime and that sort of thing. Have you ever heard of a movie called RRR?
Yes.
Rise, Roar, Revolt?
Yes.
That is a terrific movie. It's 3+ hours, but it's from India. It's what they call maybe a Bollywood movie. but it's 3 hours long, but it doesn't seem like 3 hours. I mean, it is a terrific movie, and I really, people from India, they love their movies, and they put a lot of effort into them, and a lot of them they just run long. But it's got great dancing in it. It's just a wonderful movie. I mean, I don't know. It's a movie that I sat down one morning and watched. It's a fictional story of revolutionaries. They journeyed from home before they began fighting for their country back in the 1920s, and it's got a lot of action in it, and it's very good. And let's see some other movies I've seen. Let me see. I got quite a bit. I saw The Woman King in the theaters with Viola Davis. I like her. I think she's terrific. I didn't care for the movie so much, but I liked her performance in it.
Is that the one where she crapped in the pie?
No, she didn't do that.
Oh, okay. That's something. I'm kidding. That's The Help. That's The Help. Anyway.
Another great movie. You probably never heard of it. It came out in 2019. It's called The Peanut Butter Falcon. You ever heard of it?
Yes.
It's got Shia LaBeouf in it. It's a gem of a movie. It's a great story, and it's just he takes in this kid that sort of runs away from a facility. He's handicapped, and Shia LaBeouf. People call him Shia LaBeouf, but anyway,
it doesn't matter.
He works at a fishing factory, and this kid that's in he's not retarded, he's just slow. Anyway, he escapes. He wants to get away because he wants to be a wrestler, and so anyway, he meets up with Shia LaBeouf and stows away in his boat, and they basically become friends, and he teaches him about life and stuff on their journey. But so yeah, I've seen quite a few movies, but I guess the next movie I want to go see is called The Menu. Comes out on Friday.
Cool. I know a high school buddy of mine, I saw on my Facebook feed, Trey Agnew discovered a movie we saw, The Last Vermeer with Mel Gibson, which is a crazy Santa Claus movie. Yeah, it's on. He said it's on Peacock streaming for free. We loved it. Remember? Anyway,
was it The Last Vermeer?
Yeah, with Mel Gibson. We played Santa Claus.
That was just called Santa Claus, the movie, wasn't it?
No, that was Santa Claus. The movie was by Alexander Salkind in 1985.
No, wait a minute. I know we saw the Mel Gibson movie
where he's Santa Claus, and it's like a dark Santa movie, but it's not about serial killers or any of that junk. Look up The Last Vermeer with a V. And while you're doing that,
I'm getting old. I forget stuff,
That's okay. Hey, you were about to say you kind of got sidetracked. You were talking about being an A-list.
The Last Vermeer.
Don't tell me I'm wrong.
It's the telling of a valuable painting by the Nazis. Remember?
That's right, with Guy Pearce. Now I'm wrong.
Yeah, okay. Guy Pearce and he was the main star in it. Let's see who else was in that movie. Yeah, but it's about he copied famous paintings. Remember?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hang on.
But the Mel Gibson, it was just called Santa Claus.
Maybe you're right. God damn.
Yeah, it was just called Santa Claus. Now, The Last Vermeer is a terrific
movie. Fat Man. Fat Man.
Fat Man. That's it.
God, no, I'm getting Alzheimer's. Not that you do, but God.
I thought I was getting old.
No.
Golly. That's a great movie with Mel Gibson. I like Mel Gibson anyway.
Well, I'll be gosh darn.
I thought it was really good. But yeah, I saw a movie called Fury, which is a great war movie. It's with Brad Pitt. So there's a lot of good stuff. I mean, I watch a lot of stuff at home, and I go to the theater. And I will go see Wakanda at some point. I just don't know, because every show that I checked, this weekend was sold out.
Yeah. I think you'll like it. It's not what you might expect, and you don't really need to have seen the first movie to appreciate it.
That's the problem with Marvel movies. Unless you follow the story all along through the comic books, you don't know what the hell is going on.
Not always, but I think you should have Disney Plus to stream some of the shows. But Anyway, I'll let you go. I know it's getting late as we're live, but so you said something about the A-list member program at AMC. What, you got to renew it? Is that what you sort of didn't finish your thought? Is that what you were going to say?
No. What I said, it renews every month. But I checked the seating arrangement in the theaters, and they were all sold out.
Oh yeah. So what do you mean? It auto renews every month?
Well, yeah, it's just $22 a month.
Okay.
And it just comes out of my.
But you can cancel anytime. There's no contract.
No, of course not. But it's nice. I mean, you just show up and they scan your barcode there on your app, and you get your ticket and go on in.
And they give you a bucket, and they give you the popcorn, right?
Right.
Like free refills, like a huge bucket.
Too, if there's a line and you had pre-bought your ticket, you can bypass that line if you're an A+ member.
It's a fast pass for the movie theater. It's just like Walt Disney World or Six Flags over
now,
Georgia.
Regal has they have a movie pass too. I don't know what there's a. And speaking of Regal, then I'll let you go. The Terra Theater here in Atlanta shut its doors last Thursday, and that theater's been open 50 years, I believe.
50 years, yeah. Yeah, that's sad. If you're in Atlanta, Georgia, that's a landmark, and we've got to preserve our theaters, and it really wasn't independent anymore. George LaFont, when he was in charge, it was an independent movie house.
Well, he
Regal.
a bunch of theaters. Well, I worked there for about 3 years as a projectionist when
Oh,
they
wow.
had film, and so I worked there on the tail end of George LaFont's ownership, and then United Artists bought the theater because United Artists used to have a chain of theaters, and so I worked there, and it was opened in 1968 as one screen. It was a big, 70-millimeter theater. They opened up with Gone with the Wind, and then over the years they added 3 more screens. The big theater they twinned it, and then they added one on. They built a theater on the right hand side to the building, and then they added a theater in the back, so they'd have 4 screens. But it's real sad that it closed. But Regal is undergoing bankruptcy, and they're closing down some theaters.
They closed down the theater, the Regal Town Center 16, right next to Town Center Mall. Anyone familiar with the Atlanta, Georgia suburbs will remember that. It was a beautiful theater. I hated to see that. It goes right next to the Varsity. The Varsity.
Well, the Terra was opened by the Lowe's Corporation. It was called the Lowe's Terra, and they actually had another theater here in Atlanta on Buford Highway called the Lowe's 12 Oaks from Gone with the Wind. So they had the Terra and the 12 Oaks. Now, the 12 Oaks closed many years ago, and that whole area became a Latino shopping center. It's really sad when you see
historic theaters
lose a landmark like that.
Atlanta doesn't really preserve much, does it? It really doesn't, and it's a shame. It's not a city that cares about preserving its landmarks. The Columbia Theater, where you also were a projectionist, they got bulldozed in 1995 for church parking, and that was a wonderful historic theater with 70-millimeter projection, yada, yada, yada. Now, Regal, they're out of England, right? The owners of Regal are in England, correct?
Right.
Yeah.
It's Cinemark owns Regal, and they're out of the UK, yes.
Wow.
And so they just, AMC is in pretty good shape, but yet, they've lost money too, but they're in a little bit better shape than Regal. So,
Yet they keep the Atlantic Station Regal wide open, which always burns its popcorn every time I've been there.
Well, my other favorite theater, because I know the owners and the people down there, they're terrific, is the Plaza. You've been there several times. The Plaza Theater is Atlanta's oldest surviving movie theater, built in 1939, and it's still to this day.
Even longer than the Fabulous Fox, which I know isn't really a movie theater. It's more like a live theater establishment.
Well, speaking of the Columbia, it opened up as the Erlanger back in the 30s. It was a vaudeville theater. They didn't show movies there. It was just the Erlanger. It was a live performance, and then over the years, it turned into a movie theater, and then it became the Atlanta Theater. And then it was the Atlanta Theater till it closed, and then Andre Pietersay, who was from South Africa, a really great guy, he bought the theater and renamed it the Columbia and installed, 70-millimeter and all that sort of stuff.
It's a great history lesson. Great. And you actually worked at those theaters. I really respect that and appreciate that. That's cool.
Well, I've worked at a handful of theaters here in Atlanta because, I worked in broadcasting full-time, but I always liked the theater work, and I worked there on the weekends. It was just like at the Terra. I worked there on Thursday nights. I built up the prints, and I worked in the booth on Fridays and Saturdays. But, yeah, I miss it, But everything is digital now, which I like digital, but they don't have the need for a projectionist anymore.
And you were at Ted Turner Entertainment during its heyday.
Yeah,
Anyway, for those that don't know, Al Hardy.
Yeah. I worked there 13 years. I've been around.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Well, I appreciate you staying up late and giving me a buzz, and that's a great history lesson.
All right, man. Well, listen, enjoy the rest of your show. I'll probably listen for a little while before I turn in.
Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate that, and we will catch you later. We'll grab lunch sometime soon.
Okay, bud. See you.
Bye. Al Hardy. He's a good guy. So wrapping up with getting back to the serious side about Gallagher, I was just about finished when he called, when I was talking about his run for governor as an independent in 2003 in California, the state of California. He finished 16th in 16th place out of 135 candidates, and he received 5,466 votes. Now let's play that clip. I need to get some more coffee. Here's a very brief clip that demonstrates the actual versatility of Gallagher as a comedian and a performer with his observational humor. And I'll keep this under 5 minutes if I can. I need to take a break, though. I need to get some coffee and take a whiz. Sorry to be crass.
Am I the only one thinking about this stuff? Creative thinking, recreational thinking. This is what I hope that I bring to you people tonight. The problem is the schools. The schools. They don't teach us how to be different. They teach us how to be the same. Right, guys? Gang? Girls? Remember school where you go to learn to communicate and all they say is no talking? Makes no sense. It stifles the creative person who has questions to ask. Why are all the home ec teachers divorced? I remember at the very beginning, nursery school seemed strange to me. I heard a nursery rhyme about the three bears. Okay. Bear comes home, finds a blonde in his bed. He's pissed off because he's out of little porridge. It makes no sense. So I would ask questions about these things, you know, and then I get in trouble for acting smart. Acting smart in school. Oh, excuse me. Get sent to the dean for acting smart. Gallagher, what's the matter with you? I'm okay now. You can send me back. We should be asking people to be different. I think in America, where you ask these questions. I'd raise my hand and she knew I was screwing around with her, you know. So I'd have to raise my hand, like I just thought of something very clever. What makes the Teflon stick to the pan? If a duck eats and goes in the water, does he get the cramps? When yogurt goes bad, how can you tell? See, they don't want to hear these things. Can't answer. Why does a cowboy wear two spurs? If one side of the horse goes, so does the other. Why do they call them cowboys? Cows is girls, bulls is boys. Ought to be cowgirls and bull boys. Why do they call a statue a bust when it stops right before the part it'd be named after? Why do they call them buildings when they're already done building them? Ought to call them built. Why do they call it a TV set when you only get one? And why do they call a woman's prison a penal colony? I ended up getting a degree in English literature finally because I like the language. It's a good language. In fact, it's an advantage we have over the Japanese because theirs is dumber than ours. I remember I went there the first day to learn to read. I was real excited. I was going to learn to read. I didn't know about sex, so this was it. It's gonna learn to read. Oh boy, I'm ready to go. And she says, okay, your first word you're gonna learn to read is big. Oh boy, I know big already. I know the meaning. So I got ready. She went, one thing, two things, three things. I said, damn, that's little for big. I said, that's little. She said, no, this is little. It was twice as big. And big. I said, this is gonna be hard. But I knew it was because I tried to learn to read ahead of time. I'd ask my dad signs on the roadside, what does that say, Dad? And he'd say, good food. I say, why? They both end in O-O-D. Those words ought to rhyme. It ought to be good food.
That's what we heard.
Or good food. Why is it good food? It doesn't matter. Why should I be serious about the language if the language isn't serious enough to make sense? Right, gang?
Yeah, right.
Well, let's take the word bomb. B-O...
We heard that earlier. God bless the soul of Gallagher. He passed away on Friday, November 11th, 2022, in Palm Springs, California, of multiple organ failure, according to his former manager, Craig Marquardo. Rest in peace, Gallagher. He was one of my favorite comedians. So as you heard Al Hardy say, he's not a big fan of stand-up comedy. And I know a lot of people like that, and I don't get that, but that's okay. We're all different. Some people don't want to be made to feel like they have to laugh in front of a performer, which, laugh from your heart, laugh if it's funny. Don't be fake. Don't be phony, but that's okay. So that's Gallagher. Moving on to the second of four people I want to recognize that passed away of pop culture and nostalgia lore. Lead singer, Dan McCafferty, founding member of Nazareth, passed away at the age of 76. And I loved the song, no pun intended, Love Hurts. That was the song of theirs I knew best, which, yes, was a hit. I know they had other songs that were not singles that were great, but I really enjoyed that song, and you can hear that on Retro Music Cuts on fistfulofradio.com, my music channel. Now, the third person I want to mention is Jeff Cook, and he was a co-founding member of the country rock band Alabama. And he passed away at the age of 73. And I have some of their music I'm going to play in just a sec. And then we'll get to the movies about heists and robberies in a moment. This is an article from thetennessean.com. Here we go. Jeff Cook, a co-founding member of the trend-setting Country Music Hall of Fame band Alabama, died Monday at the age of 73. For a decade, Cook battled Parkinson's disease, a progressive disorder of the nervous system that affects movement and causes tremors. He publicly disclosed his diagnosis back in 2017. A representative for the band Alabama confirmed his death Tuesday afternoon to the Tennessean. Jeff Cook died at his bedside, at his beachside home. Take two, we're live. This is serious. Jeff Cook died at his beachside home in Destin, Florida. As a guitarist, fiddle player, and vocalist in Alabama, Jeff Cook, alongside cousins Randy Owen and Teddy Gentry, helped sketch a blueprint for what a hit-making band could achieve in country music. He and the band filled in that sketch with a slew of hits, now considered by many to be essential country music listening, including Song of the South, Mountain Music, I'm in a Hurry, Cheap Seats, and My Home's in Alabama, among many others. I like Love in the First Degree. Anyway, let's listen to a live version of Mountain Music from 1989 from, you'll recognize this, and I'll just go ahead and tell you, from the MDA Telethon. Jerry Lewis introducing them here. The bots. I have to play Dodgebot on this show when I'm live because, at least on the Facebook side, the bots get you for playing songs. But the live version's a little tip for you for any fellow broadcasters or podcasters out there. You can get away with playing some live versions. But let's listen to one of their best songs, Mountain Music, right now. And by the way, give to the MDA. Jerry Lewis's legacy. That's a very, very worthwhile cause and charity. Let's listen to Mountain Music.
So please welcome the top recording stars, Alabama.
Yeah.
Well, everybody stand up, clap your hands. Say hello to all the people watching the Jerry Lewis telethon. Let's have a little fun. Yeah. Everybody, like Grandma and Grandpa used to play. Then I'll throw it on down the river to Cajun Hideaway. Away like Tom Sawyer, ride around for the old Huck Finn. Take a nap, well, like River Rico. They sleeping again. Oh, play me some mountain music, everybody, like Grandma and Grandpa used to play. Then I'll throw on down the river to the Cajun Hideaway. Oh, yeah! Oh, yeah! Well, I swim across the river, just to prove that I'm a man. Spend a day, well, I'm being lazy and being nature's friend. Then I climb the long tall hickory, bending over skinning cats, playing baseball with Shirley rocks. I'll use a song, a stuff or a band. Yeah! Listen back home, come on, music, everybody. That comes from the heart. Happy children. Play something with lots of feeling, 'cause that's where music has to start. Oh, yeah! Oh, play me some mountain music, everybody, like Grandma and Grandpa used to play. Then I'll float on down the river to the Cajun Hideaway. Hey, hey.
Listen to that fiddle.
Oh, play me mountain music. Oh, play me mountain music. Oh, play me mountain music. Oh, play.
Woo! Wow. Yes. Yes. Rest in peace, Jeff Cook. A lot of people are watching and listening. It helps when I don't do this in the middle of the night like I've done the last couple times at 2 a.m. when I'm live. Yes. We've got a lot of comments I'm going to read about the favorite movies of yours of a heist or a robbery and why. Jason Woods out there. Hey, Jason. Yeah, legend. Damn right. Damn right. Let me just like your comments. I'm going to read some. I'm clapping along right with you as we listen to Alabama mountain music. Yeah, it's good stuff. Now, getting back to seriousness, is our last person we want to talk about who passed away recently in November of 2022. A gentleman who a lot of you may not know, but you did know. You knew his voice work, and he was an actor as well. Kevin Conroy passed away, and he's the voice of animated Batman. But Gen Xers like me, it's notable, he wasn't the guy that voiced Batman on Super Friends. That was a gentleman named Olin Soley, like Gordon Soley from World Championship Wrestling. I wonder if they're related. I should have researched that. Olin Soley. Gordon Soley. I used to love Mr. Wrestling #2. I'm all over the place, folks. We're about to get to the topic, the main topic of heist movies. But let me play a clip of both these gentlemen that voiced Batman. And here's a little bit of Mark Hamill, who voiced the Joker on the animated Batman show that Kevin voiced Batman on. And there's a lot of people doing entire shows, like our friend James Enstall. He's live now. What is it? KTRS live in St. Louis radio at a huge station, St. Louis, Missouri. He's dedicating his whole hour show, his entire hour show, to the passing of this gentleman, Kevin Conroy. So I recommend you dump out of here if while he's still live. I bet he's got some good guests on. He's on for another half hour as we're live. KTRS, you can stream it there live. He's a good guy, and he supports us, so we support him. I can't have anyone with me who isn't with me. Who said that line? The character's name is Ross Webster, played by Robert Vaughn in Superman 3 with Richard Pryor. Remember that? I can't have anyone with me who isn't with me. That's how I feel. Isn't that how you feel too? Anyway, let's get serious and play a clip of Mr. Conroy, who just passed away. And in this video, I would recommend you look at it. He's actually in front of the mic voicing Batman. Let's listen to a little bit, and then I'll play them. Okay.
No one.
Hang on.
You're not safe here. No one is. Don't worry about me. You're needed out there.
I've been doing the character now for 20 years. The audience knows him as well as I do.
That's Kevin
They
Conroy
would know in a
speaking.
second if I did something inauthentic, and they'd call me on it.
Get out of my way, Quinn.
Leave us alone, B-Man!
I said move!
There's Mark Hamill. Luke Skywalker.
You fell for the old sick Joker guy, Batman.
There's something about scary clowns, you know, that it just creeps people out.
But you of all people should know, there's plenty wrong with me.
His purpose in Batman's orderly world is just to mess him up big time.
Take my blood, for example. I wish somebody would. This stuff is killing me.
Why should I care?
Because now, there's a teeny little bit of me in you too, Bats.
He gets great joy out of just the most sadistic, oddball things.
Imagine sucking down that last breath knowing that Gotham is doing the same.
What are you talking about?
Oh, didn't I say? I've spent weeks shipping samples of my blood to emergency rooms all over the city.
Because of the complicated character, Bruce Wayne and the Joker, there's a sort of a mutual respect there. Even though he knows he's insane, and he knows he has to be controlled, he would never want to kill him. Whereas the Joker is constantly trying to kill Batman.
Hold tight.
There you go. That video on YouTube is Mark Hamill and Kevin Conroy in Arkham City. So I recommend you look at it. It's got some great visuals of both of them. And I want to keep this show looking like it's recorded on an old camcorder by design, like a JVC camcorder like Marty McFly, the character, had in Back to the Future in 1985. That's just by design. I could get the fancy OBS software and all that stuff, and one day I guess I'll break down and do that to take this show to another level where I can show you these clips. But I want this to be an audio show. So those listening at fistfulofradio.com or on Apple or podcast.co, I got you. Now, So rest in peace. Let's play the version that a lot of older folks in the Gen Xers, Gen X generation, Generation X, remember as the voice of Batman. This is just 30 seconds, folks, and then we'll move on.
You know, Robin, quite often people choke on a piece of food they're eating.
Right. What can you do for them?
Well, if I were choking, you'd stand behind me, wrap your arms around my waist, then make a fist with one of your hands and put it against my abdomen with your thumb against my body, slightly below my rib cage. Grab your fist and press in and upward. You might have to press and push up more than once. Try it again. It's important to get it right. Someone's life may depend on it.
And I think that was the basis for the ambiguously gay duo on SNL, Saturday Night Live, that hilarious cartoon bit on Saturday Night Live in the 90s. That was funny stuff. Anyway, that's the voice of Batman that I remember, and that's no disrespect to the genius of Kevin Conroy, and I mourn his death. But rest in peace to all four of these fine talents. Your artwork lives on throughout eternity. You are immortal through your gifts to the world. And I mean that sincerely. 770-438-1050 is the number to call in while we're live, or you could simply make a comment in the Facebook group, The Nostalgic Pod Blast, which is the official show Facebook group. Now, moving on. Finally, we're going to talk about heist movies, and I'm going to read your comments here. Like I said at the top of the show, who hasn't fantasized about the perfect robbery? Getting even with Casino. And that was, someone mentioned Casino. That was a great movie, and that's a good heist movie. One of the best, actually. I'm going to mention some here, and then we'll read a list from Rotten Tomatoes, and I have one from Men's Health Magazine and menshealth.com. Dog Day Afternoon, Al Pacino. That was a really good and bizarre movie. Thief that Al mentioned when he called in, starring James Caan. The Widows, you've got to see that movie. The Widows from 2018. Great movie. The Getaway. I like the remake with Alec Baldwin, who has a lot of problems these days, and his ex-wife, Kim Basinger. I love that movie. I think it came out in 1993. And the original, of course, too. It was Ally McGraw and man, I love that. Mission Impossible, 96. The Ocean's 11 movies. All that. But I'm going to read some of your comments now and see what you thought, because that's the whole point of this. And I'm going to do this topic later with clips and do it properly with Al Hardy. But let me just get here, and as we're live, I got to be a little awkward. I'm always awkward, and get to where I can read the comments. All right, Jason Wood says, bless you. But let me get, now, yeah, I asked just a couple hours before I went live, what are your favorite movies about a heist or robbery and why? So let's see who chimed in. By the way, while I struggle, Chuck Adams said The Great Train Robbery in 1978. And on the Facebook group, he posted a link to it, to the IMDb page, International Movie Database. By the way, Jeff Logan, if you're still out there, I know you just commented, you just saw Wakanda Forever and you loved it. Question. How did the person survive being impaled? I don't get that. I loved it. I cried. I cried. There's a scene that's so powerful in that movie. I mean, I didn't cry like ugly cry, like, but I mean, like a little tear came streaming down my face. It was well done. And I mean, it's a good movie. It's not like, I've heard a lot of people that make like pseudo racist statements. Like, I don't want to sit there for 3 hours of Black history. It's not like that. It's a good movie, and you should see it. It's not preachy or anything like that. It's very, very good. So Chuck Adams also, let's see what else he commented in terms of the great heist movies. Well, he posted a bunch of links to The Great Train Robbery, Chuck Adams. And then Going in Style was June's choice, June Farr Newell. And she said, I watched this movie again recently, and it's still hilarious. Okay, cool. She says, it's a remake of the 1979 movie of the same name, Going in Style, which I remember and I saw, which starred George Burns, Art Carney, and Lee Strasberg. It was also pretty funny, if I remember correctly. But that was a long time ago, so it's pretty vague in my memory now. I understand. Ron Goss said he's been on the Pod Blast, and he's going to be back soon. We both have worked on Hollywood productions here in the Atlanta, Georgia area. Ron Goss says, I like to watch reindeer games with Ben Affleck and Gary Sinise around Christmas time. Cool. Carrie Clemens Settles says Casino and Reservoir Dogs. That's on my list, too. The Quentin Tarantino movies, yeah. There's several. Reservoir Dogs is a great heist movie, no doubt. Those are great picks. And let me see the other comments here as we're live. You hear that hum? I got to fix it. I'm going to fix that hum. I'm getting mad. I like to have perfect audio. And there's a hum that's driving me halfway up the wall here. Hang on a second. God, this is bad. I'm going. Well, it ain't that. It isn't that. Listen to me in my bad grammar. I'm an educated man. There we go. Got it. All right, let me acknowledge some of the comments. And God bless everyone that's watching live here. Gosh, why can't I see that? And then we're going to read this list here. Golly. Okay, here we go. Oh, I'm so sorry. This is bad. Dave Baker, thank you for watching, sir. He actually won a film for me on an eBay, the Nostalgic Pod Blast eBay, a Star Trek film recently. I appreciate your business. I didn't realize it was you. Let's see here. Oh, when we were talking about the historic theaters, Jason Wood said the Lowe's Theater, that's where Gone with the Wind premiered in 1939. Yep, good one. Well, I'll get back to these comments. There's more, but for some reason I cannot figure out while I'm live how to read them. And there's more. Well, let me just talk about the list here. Let's talk about the list. And then I have something that really irked me. I got a couple gripes. It's a segment that I call the fake rant of the week, but these are real rants, and they're not political or anything that's going to be polarizing or piss anybody off. This is something I think we can all agree on. But let's read. I'm going to start with Men's Health magazine in terms of the heist movies. So I'm quoting. Let me read the name of the author here, or the person that wrote this. Milan Polk. This is from November 2nd, 2022. So this is a pretty recent article. And when I was researching the topic, I thought of the idea before I saw this article. But here's his list of the 40 best heist movies of all time. Here are the best crime capers and where to stream them. So this is good information. Most of us don't want to do something illegal. Speak for yourself. No. Still, there's a bit of a rush when we hear about someone's dastardly deeds, especially when they're elaborate, well-planned crimes. True crime will always intrigue us, and a good heist story is no exception. A decent heist story, just so we're clear, isn't just a simple robbery. It's a premeditated crime, and sometimes more than just one crime, with a group of criminals who do everything they can to elude authorities. No shit, Sherlock. Money isn't always the prize at the end, but it's usually a pretty good motivator. But as viewers, we don't care about the reward at the end all that much. Really, what we want is to see how the criminals plan the heist, and most importantly, if they manage to get away. A few directors, like Steven Soderbergh, Quentin Tarantino, Christopher Nolan, and even Wes Anderson, yes, that Wes Anderson, have made heist films that hold up after more than just a few years. Yeah, it stands the test of time. That's the mark of a great movie. The cat and mouse games give us two sides to root for, both the criminal and the law enforcement tasked with catching them. They're cunning and determined to reach their goals, whatever means necessary. And with each story, there's bound to be a twist, a betrayal, or some other surprise to keep you watching. The heist subgenre, although it's often lumped into the more vague quote-unquote crime genre, is alive and well. With new releases like Red Notice and the Fast and the Furious franchise, there's more than enough of cool people stealing things to keep us entertained for years to come. Here's a list of some of the best heist movies of all time. Let me add, in his opinion. All the Oceans, meaning Ocean's 11 movies from 2001, 2004, 2007, and 2018. It ended, I guess, with Ocean's 8. You can't have a list of heist movies without Steven Soderbergh's well-known franchise, starring George Clooney, Brad Pitt, and Matt Damon, among many others. The original trilogy follows a group of thieves who rob casinos. The 2018 reboot, Ocean's 8, focused on Sandra Bullock. I love her. I need her autograph on my picture, by the way, of Richard Anderson and Lindsay Wagner. She was the Bionic Girl in 1989 in Bionic Showdown, which was a television reunion film. It was a sequel to the 1987 NBC movie, The Return of the $6 Million Man Bionic Woman. So it was one of the first things that Sandra Bullock did, and she probably wants to distance herself from that role, kind of like Deidre Hall did from Electra Woman. From Electra Woman, a Dyna Girl lasted 8 segments on the Sid and Marty Krofft Saturday Super Krofft show. But I digress, which I always do. Anyway, Sandra Bullock played the cousin of George Clooney's character in Ocean's 8. The Ocean's films are just the perfect blend of comedy and action, plus a little suspense. It's one of those franchises that has the star power, a fun plot, and never tries to do more than show a lot of pretty people doing illegal things. And it says stream it here. There's a link. I'm going to click it. HBO Max. Okay, so the Ocean's movies are on HBO Max. There you go. Widows. This is one that I loved. 2018. I saw it with old Al Hardy, who called in, our good friend. Steve McQueen was the director, not to be confused with the Steve McQueen, who passed away in 1980. And there's Steve McQueen's grandson was an actor here in Atlanta on The Vampire Diaries, among other things. I met him. Steve McQueen III. Cool kid. Or young man. Hell, he's probably in his 30s by now. But anyway, Steve McQueen directs this revenge heist starring Viola Davis. When 4 women's husbands are killed in a botched heist, they decide to do a heist of their own to pay back the money their husbands stole. So it's like a reverse heist. Along with stellar acting, this heist is memorable for an unexpected twist, which makes for a satisfying ending. I concur. Stream it here, Amazon Prime. All right, now moving along here. I got to hurry this up. National Treasure 2004. If you're looking for a heist movie that'll take you on a ride, National Treasure is what you're looking for. Nicolas Cage stars in this action-packed thriller about a treasure hunter who has to get his hands on the Declaration of Independence, which holds a clue to a great treasure. If that wasn't strange enough, Nick Cage plays a man named Benjamin Franklin Gates, and his father, played by the late Christopher Plummer, is named John Adams Gates. And that streams on Disney Plus. I'm going to check it out. I haven't seen that in a long time. Heat. Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. 1995. Whoa, that's a good heist film. Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, what a cast. Heat follows an LAPD detective played by Pacino as he hunts down a career criminal played by De Niro. Even with their mutual respect for one another, their relationship escalates and explodes with one intense heist. And currently, now, the streaming to me is a shell game. It's streaming on Disney Plus. But what I mean is, look what happened with Friends. That was the #1 streaming show of all time at the time on Netflix. Certainly #1 Netflix, but I think it holds the record for the most streamed entity of all the streaming services up until the point when Peacock absorbed it, because Peacock is owned by Xfinity, Comcast, whatever they want to call themselves right now, who owns, of course, NBC and Universal. So they took it off of Netflix, and that was actually a pretty good business move to get people to subscribe to Peacock streaming service, which is where Friends is now, and The Office and a lot of other NBC former hit, and current hit and reruns properties. So moving on, The Bling Ring of 2013. I don't agree with all these. I may not go through all 40 of these because we're getting a little off the beaten path here of what I consider a classic heist movie. But this was based on a real-life crime spree. The Bling Ring follows a group of California teens who burglarize celebrities' homes. It says burgle. You know, burgle. It irks me when people just read off Wikipedia or read an article. I'm going to look that up. Is burgle a real word, folks? In the audience, in the Nostalgic Podblast audience? I don't know. I don't think so. I'm just going to read this as is. So the Bling Ring follows a group of California teens who burglarize, I'm adding that because I can't say the word burgle, who burglarize celebrities' homes. Emma Watson is one of the teenagers involved in the multiple robberies in this satirical and dramatic reenactment. Sofia Coppola, I guess Coppola, like Francis Ford Coppola, probably more. I'm so jealous of this more nepotism, but I could be wrong. But I guarantee you she's probably related to Francis Ford, just like Nick Cage. But Sofia Coppola wrote and directed The Bling Ring, and let's see where that streams for you folks on Netflix. All right, so Inception, 2010 heist film. Yeah, that was a good one. I did see that. Over a decade after Inception's original release, director Christopher Nolan's film still holds up. The premise of the film isn't to steal money or anything tangible even, but the goal is to implant memories into a victim's subconsciousness. Leonardo DiCaprio stars alongside a stacked cast. All right, I'm going to cut this short. Ellen Page is in it. Who now? Oh, is Elliot Page. Right. Okay, I caught that. I'm not going to dead sex anybody, whatever that is, whatever the damn term is. I don't know where the hell it's streaming because I clicked the link and it says 404, dead link. Okay, Inside Man, 2006, heist movie. Wow, yeah. Denzel Washington, who is consistently great in every movie he acts in. I'm a huge fan of the great Denzel Washington. And as I agree with the writing here, if the movie stars Denzel Washington, it's going to be good. I agree. Inside Man stars Denzel Washington as a hostage negotiator who works to undermine a heist at a Wall Street bank. Clive Owen stars as Dalton Russell, the mastermind up against Denzel Washington's character. It's directed by Spike Lee, and the film holds an impressive 85% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. And you can stream that on Amazon Prime. So I got to move this along. I didn't want this to be a long pod blast. Army of the Dead from 2021. I'm not even going to read this because I've not seen it. Out of Sight, 1998. George Clooney, Jennifer Lopez. No Sudden Move, 2021. Haven't seen that yet. Don Cheadle's in it. Da Five Bloods, spelled D-A, like Da Five Bloods, 2020. Have not seen it. Heist movie. Let's see. It could be good, but I've not seen it, so I can't recommend it. I cannot confirm or deny whether that's worth your time. Baby Driver, 2017. Logan Lucky, 2017. Like my friend Jeff Logan. That stars Channing Tatum and Adam Driver as the Logan brothers, who one day decide to rob the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Ooh, that sounds interesting. I've not seen it. I got to check that out. When Jimmy is fired from the complex. Tatum and Driver are joined by Riley and Daniel Craig. Riley, let's see. Craig gives a high-energy, enjoyable performance as Joe Bang, a safecracker, and Hilary Swank plays an FBI agent looking to bring them all down. This one is directed once again by Steven Soderbergh. The man loves a heist. Indeed, he does. I'm going to check that out. Logan Lucky. And it streams on Disney Plus. Cool, which I have, so I'm going to check that out. Logan Lucky. We're almost done with this list, folks. That's from 2017. Over 5 years ago as we're live. Now You See Me, 2013. I'm just going to cruise through this list here. Reservoir Dogs. Oh, God, yeah. 1992. Man, that is one of the best in the genre. That's great. Reservoir Dogs, as you know, follows a crew of diamond thieves whose heist goes awry. And Quentin Tarantino obviously directed it. So let's see where that's streaming right now. On HBO Max. So let's continue on. Almost done with this list. Jackie Brown, another Quentin Tarantino movie, 1997. I remember there was a funny bit in that where this guy goes to the door and the guy's like, man, I'm home. I'm high. I'm not going anywhere tonight. And they're like, no, you got to come out. Come with me. There's a black guy at the door. He's like, I'm home. I'm high. Anyway, I just found that funny. Let's see where that's streaming right now. Excuse me. Amazon Prime is where you can find Jackie Brown. And I love it when they bring back talents of the 70s or 80s, from the past and give them a shot at a comeback. And of course, that was just a great, great comeback for Pam Grier. Let's see here. Fast Five. Yeah, Fast Five 2011. I'm going to zoom past that. Bottle Rocket 1996. Drive in 2011. The Bank Job 2008. Yeah. Ant-Man 2015, a Marvel movie. Yeah, I guess. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid 1969. Hell yes. What about Bonnie and Clyde? Excuse me. A Fish Called Wanda 1988. This is not my list, folks. I'm just reading Men's Health Magazine.com. The Sting 1973. Absolutely. Rogue One 2016. Yeah, that is a Star Wars movie, obviously. But for those that don't know, it takes place right before the very first Star Wars movie in terms of the plot. The first one from 1977, released May 25th, 1977, and limited release by 20th Century Fox. And in Rogue One, they're trying to get the plans that R2-D2, Princess Leia puts into R2-D2. Anyway, that show what the Death Star is made of, and it's basically the plans of the Death Star so they can find a weakness and exploit it. As Darth Vader said, in fear, after they got away with the plans in the first Star Wars movie. A New Hope, as it was called in re-release in 1981, I think it was. Anyway, The Friends of Eddie Coyle, 1973, heist movie. We're talking about heist movies, by the way, anyone tuning in late. The best bank and heist movies of all time, and this is a list from Men's Health Magazine and menshealthmagazine.com. American Animals, 2018, never heard of it. The Town in 2010. Bound, 1996, yeah, good one. The Thomas Crown Affair, 1999, starring former Bond Pierce Brosnan. Dead Presidents, yep, that's on my personal list. Set It Off, that was a good one. 1996, setting fire to that car. Queen Latifah, Jada Pinkett Smith, Vivica Fox. How to Steal a Million back in 1966. Bonnie and Clyde, there it is on my personal list. It's on Men's Health's list as well. I haven't looked at this yet. To Catch a Thief, 1955. Great heist movie. And, of course, The Heist, 2001, with now retired Gene Hackman, one of the best actors of all time. And there's a website I want to direct you to. If you like the Christopher Reeve Superman movies, capedwonder.com. I think it started in the year 2000 with Conan O'Brien reference by this guy Jim Bowers, who used to live in Atlanta, Georgia. I think he's in Nevada State. But he founded this, and he's handling for the first time, and I think it's too late to get in on it as we're live, autographs of Gene Hackman. But moving on, Thief, 1982. Hell yeah. I said 1981. I think it is 1981. I think this article is wrong. Pretty sure Thief came out in 1981, but I could be wrong. Someone fact check me on that. Money Train in 1995, another great heist movie. Top Copy, 1964. Let's see. And I think we're at the end of the list. And I'm just going to read a few. Yep, that's it. Okay, so that concludes the list of the top 40 heist movies of all time from Men's Health Magazine. Now for Rotten Tomatoes, I'm just going to read a list here because there's friggin' 88 of them, and I've already gone way too long as it is. The Bling Ring, number 88. Number 87, The Newton Boys. Number 86, Bandits from 2001. Number 85, Danger Diabolik from 1968. Number 84 of the best heist movies of all time, Two Guns from 2013. Number 83, this should rank higher on the list, Mission Impossible from 1996. Number 82 of the best heist movies of all time, a movie titled Small Time Crooks from the year 2000 with Woody Allen and Tracy Ullman and Hugh Grant and John Lovitz, directed by Woody Allen. Number 81 on the list of best heist movies of all time is The Burnt Orange Hearsay from 2019. Heist from 2001 is number 80. Number 79, The Wrath of Man from 2021. I never saw it. Directed by Guy Ritchie, Madonna's ex-husband. I liked his take on The Man from U.N.C.L.E. from 2015, which also is a heist movie on my list of good heist movies. Number 78, Army of the Dead from 2021. According to Rotten Tomatoes, that's what the source of this list of the best heist movies of all time. Counting down, number 77, The Fate of the Furious, 2017. Number 76, Tower Heist from 2011. Number 75, Public Enemies from 2009. Number 74, The Man from U.N.C.L.E. from 2015. Didn't do well at the box office. A great, great movie. And it had a cameo by David McCallum. I love seeing him. The original Ilya, the Russian agent. Good movie. And I love the music in it. Anyway, and you know who did the original theme to the Man from U.N.C.L.E. television show, which aired on NBC from 1964 through 1968? Jerry Goldsmith. Number 73 on the list. This should be higher on the list. I don't care what Rotten Tomatoes says. Point Break. There's a line in that. This is an adult line, so hide the kids. I'm going to say it in just a sec. Young, dumb, and full of blank. I won't say it because it's gross. You can imagine. C-U-M. Leave it at that. Point Break, 1991. Awesome. Over the top heist movie. Ronin, 1998, is at number 72 on the list of the best heist movies of all time. There's 88 of them on this list. Number 71, Ocean's 13. From 2007. Number 70, Ocean's 8 from 2018. Number 69, Set It Off, 1996. Number 68, The Thomas Crown Affair from 1999. Number 67 of the best heist movies of all time, Triple Frontier from 2019. Never saw it. Number 66, Mission Impossible 3, 2006. Number 65, The Thomas Crown Affair from 1968. Number 64, The Driver from 1978. Number 63, The Score from 2001. Number 62, The Italian Job from 2003. Yes. Number 61, The Great Train Robbery from 1978. Chuck Adams. I'm sure you'd rank it in the top 10. Number 60, Snatch from the year 2000. Number 59, Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels from 1998. Number 58, and of the top heist movies of all times is a movie titled Dragged Across Concrete from 2018, starring Mel Gibson, Vince Vaughn. Number 57, The Good Thief from 2002. Nick Nolte is in the cast. Number 56, Fast Five in the Fast and the Furious franchise from 2011. That's the last movie. The last movie with Paul Walker, who got burned up. I'm serious. I'm not making light of that. That was a tragedy. This is a great classic movie. Number 55 of the best heist movies of all time. F that. This is in the top 20 in Chance Bartel's book, your friendly host of the nostalgic pod blast that you're listening to right now. Kelly's Heroes from 1970. That's an awesome World War II era. Looking for German gold. Donald Sutherland, Don Rickles, Telly Savalas. Who loves you, baby? Clint Eastwood. Number 54 of the list of the best heist movies of all time, according to Rotten Tomatoes, is Sneakers from 1992. Number 53, The Bank Job from 2008. Number 52, The Italian Job from 1969. Number 51, Ocean's 11 from 2001. Number 50, we hit the halfway, it's 88, so it's not quite the halfway point. That would be number 44, wouldn't it? Yes. Ant-Man from 2015. Okay. Rogue One clocks in at number 49 of the best heist and robbery movies of all time, according to Rotten Tomatoes. Number 48 is Bottle Rocket from 1996 with Owen Wilson and Luke Wilson, the Wilson brothers. Number 47, the original Getaway, which I love, with Steve McQueen and Ali McGraw. Number 46, and I think that's in my top 20, so that I don't agree with Rotten Tomatoes. Never do. Seldom do. Sometimes I do. Number 46, Inside Man from 2006, starring the great Denzel Washington and Jodie Foster. Willem Dafoe, underrated character actor. Number 45 on the list of the best heist movies, Thunderbolt and Lightfoot from 1974, starring Clint Eastwood, Jeff Bridges, George Kennedy, Jeffrey Lewis. You know who Jeffrey Lewis is? That's Juliette Lewis's father. And you saw him in a lot of 1970s Clint Eastwood movies like the Every Which Way You Can movies and Bronco Billy. Anyway, you'd know him if you saw him. And it's spelled Jeffrey with a Geoffrey. Number 44 on Rotten Tomatoes' list of the best 88 heist movies of all time is Heat. A good one. That's in my top 20, starring Al Pacino and Robert De Niro, Val Kilmer, and John Voight, we talked about earlier. And, of course, John Voight is the estranged father of Angelina Jolie. Excuse me. The great Pam Grier returned in Jackie Brown, number 43 on our list, the 1997 movie directed by the great Quentin Tarantino. Number 42 on the list of the best heist movies, Sexy Beast from the year 2000. From the year 2000? Okay, I've done that enough. I'm beating that to death. That Conan O'Brien reference. Number 41. Oh, that was the halfway. What was the halfway point? I just cruised by 44. That was Heat. That's the halfway point of this list. Let's just keep it moving. The Lookout 2007 comes in at number 41 on the Rotten Tomatoes list of the best heist movies of all time. Number 40, Inception from the year 2010, starring Leo DiCaprio. Ooh, it has Ellen Page's name, not Elliot Page, on this list on Rotten Tomatoes. And Tom Hardy, directed by the great Christopher Nolan. Bonnie and Clyde, number 39. Really? You give it only 39th place? That's one of the best heist movies ever. Anyway, Denver Pyle's in that cast, man. Before he was Uncle Jesse. He's the one that shoots him dead. Warren Beatty, Faye Dunaway. Michael J. Pollard, what an interesting character actor he was. He passed away not too long ago, and one of his ex-wives was Beth Howland, otherwise known as Vera, in Alice, the sitcom, starring, and thank God Linda Lavin's still alive. And so is Polly Holiday, who played Flo. Not Flo the ditz in the insurance ads. By the way, that's one of my gripes. One of my rants of the week, my fake rants of the week, are the comical car insurance ads. Because I just got an increase of over $170 a year here in the state of Georgia for my renewal. So did Al Hardy. Nothing friggin' funny about car insurance. And they just try to play us like suckers. And the tax commissioner's to blame. We'll talk about it later. But Bonnie and Clyde, that's an excellent, excellent movie. I'm glad Warren Beatty's still with us. I don't want to jinx anybody on this list of great performers and artists, directed by the great Arthur Penn. Number 38 in our list of the best heist movies of all time, according to Rotten Tomatoes, is The Usual Suspects. Yes. Yes. Oh, God, that's a good one. That's just Kevin Spacey. That's what put him on the map. And I'm glad that his legal troubles seem to be over. Bryan Singer directed that, who went on to direct X-Men and X2 in the old Fox X-Men movie series. And of course, he directed Superman Returns, which was lukewarm in terms of its reception by the public and the fans. But he's a hell of a director, Bryan Singer. But that's got to be one of his best movies. Continuing on, number 37 on our list of the best heist movies of all time is American Animals from 2018. Number 36, The Pink Panther. See, that was an original thought when I came up with my list. Hell yeah, the original, that's what it's about. It's about a jewel thief. And I love the heists. Typically at the beginning of each of those movies, the early Pink Panther movies, like Return of the Pink Panther and the original, I just love that heist. The great Peter Sellers, man. He was just one of a kind. Peter Sellers, David Niven, Robert Wagner, who went on to do Heart to Heart, and him and Christopher Walken had something to do with Natalie. Well, I won't go there. The great Natalie Woods. Blake Edwards directed the first Pink Panther, by the way, who was the husband of, we talked about The Sound of Music earlier in tonight's show, Julie Andrews' late husband. And Julie Andrews is still with us, thank goodness. Number 35 on our list of the best heist and robbery movies of all time, according to RottenTomatoes.com, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, 1969. Number 34, The Spanish Prisoner from the year 1998. Number 33, Top Cappy, that we talked about a moment ago on the other list, the top 40 from Men's Health from 1964. Number 32, we're getting down the nitty-gritty, folks. The Wild Bunch from 1969, classic by Sam Peckinpah. William Holden, Ernest Borgnine, just great character actors there. William Holden really was a star. He wasn't a character actor, was he? Number 31, Kajillionaire from 2020. I didn't see that. Starring Evan Rachel Wood. I'll have to and Deborah Winger. Oh, good. She's back. I love Deborah Winger. Introduced, by the way, on the small screen in Wonder Woman starring Linda Carter, which, as we're live, is on the Decades channel. There's a weekend binge. Every weekend they have a mini marathon of a television show. And it starts Saturdays at noon and ends on Monday morning at 6 a.m. And as we're live, Wonder Woman starring Linda Carter is the weekend binge on Decades. But I would recommend the Blu-ray set, just like all these great shows that we loved as Gen X kids, like The Incredible Hulk, The Bionic Woman, $6 Million Man, all in HD now for the very first time. And Warner Brothers released Wonder Woman in HD recently as well. And Deborah Winger played Wonder Girl. I'm digressing here from the list of the greatest heist movies of all time. But Deborah Winger, before she was in An Officer and a Gentleman, what a great role, Oscar-winning role. And Urban Cowboy, she played Drusilla, the younger sister of Linda Carter's Diana Prince character, Princess Diana of the Amazonian from Paradise Island. It was a two-parter called The Feminine Mystique, which I have on 16mm film, reel-to-reel, as well as Blu-ray. Gorgeous print, and it has stuff not on the Blu-ray, meaning Warner Brothers kind of got cheap. There were two things they cut out. They cut out the next week preview, which the Bionic Woman set put back in. The networks would edit a special next week, sometimes with alternate takes, different music, different sound effects, or no sound effects at all, of those next week shows. And I love that. I love little details like that. But I have a film print and says, this is Linda Carter. Here are some scenes from the conclusion of The Feminine Mystique. And it aired like 2 nights later. Wonder Woman, like Batman in the 60s, Adam West show aired the very next night. The first 2 seasons were a cliffhanger. Season 3, there was once a week instead of twice a week. Batman, when it started in early 1966, would air twice a week. And then they cut back in season 3 to once a week. But they still sometimes would have cliffhangers, but I digress. So Wonder Woman, they did a few episodes in its first season set during the World War II era where they would be aired the next night or 2 nights down the line that same week. And I have a print of another one starring Tim O'Connor, Judgment from Outer Space, that also has a nice little preview narrated by Linda Carter that they didn't put on the Blu-ray, but it's on my film prints. And just little stuff like that I treasure. And so I like that. But I love Deborah Winger. And I remember when she was on The Late Show with David Letterman in 1994, soon after he left NBC for CBS, she came out wearing this gray, like, just dress. Like, it looked unattractive. And sure enough, this was so cool. Underneath, she was wearing the Wonder Girl outfit. And she threw that thing off. And anyway, it's a classic clip. It's probably on YouTube. Or check out Letterman, the official YouTube channel for David Letterman. And he does like a new segment. Lately, it's been weekly. Sometimes it's monthly. Just whenever he feels like doing it. He and Barbara Gaines, his former PA on the NBC Late Night with David Letterman show. And she was also affiliated with the CBS show, worked on it with him. But they there's I think a former, I don't know what she did. There's another young lady that sometimes does these videos too, and they're very, very, very funny. So check out Letterman on YouTube. Let's get back to the list now. Now we're down to the remaining 30 on this list on Rotten Tomatoes of the best heist movies of all time. Take the Money and Run from 1969. Directed by and starring Woody Allen. That's on the list at number 29. Widows. Loved it at number 29. That's in my top 20, believe it or not. It was just an awesome movie. Viola Davis, Colin Farrell. Oh, man. Directed by Steve McQueen. Obviously not the Steve McQueen, who passed in 1980. I'm losing my voice. Number 28, A Fistful of Dynamite from 1971. James Coburn's in the cast of that. Rafifi from 1955. That comes in at number 27. Number 26, Reservoir Dogs. That's in my top 20. Disagree with this list on Rotten Tomatoes. Quentin Tarantino's masterpiece. Harvey Keitel. Remember he used to love to show us Pecker back in those days, and the movie was weird. Tim Roth. Who could forget Tim Roth in Pulp Fiction? Quentin Tarantino's pop culture classic, Pulp Fiction. And he robbed that diner with Amanda Plummer playing his other co-robber. All right, number 25, Nine Queens from 2001. That was a heist movie. Okay, number 24 that I've never seen or heard of. I need to educate myself on that. No Sudden Move from 2021 comes in at number 24. That's a Steven Soderbergh movie we talked about. The Town from 2010, directed by Ben Affleck, starring Ben Affleck. Affleck comes in at number 23. Logan Lucky, number 22 from 2017 that we talked about that I'm going to see. I'm going to stream that. Number 21, Baby Driver. Number 20, we're in the top 20 now. Out of Sight from 1998. Another Steven Soderbergh movie with George Clooney and Lopez we talked about previously. All right, number 19, Mission Impossible Ghost Patrol from 2011. Number 18, Drive from 2011, starring Ryan Gosling, who was filming The Fall Guy in Sydney, Australia. The movie based on the, some would say, cheesy 1980s action show. Thief from 1981. I was right! You need to correct that if you're listening. I know they're not listening, but menshealth.com. The Thief was released in 1981, directed by Michael Mann, with James Caan and the lovely and talented Tuesday Weld and Willie Nelson and James Belushi. Great, great movie. And that concurs with my top 20. Actually, that's in my top 10. Band of Outsiders from 1964 clocks in at 16th place. To Catch a Thief from 1955 is number 15 of the best heist movies of all time, according to RottenTomatoes.com's list here of 88, top 88 heist movies. Number 14 is The Sting from 1973. Paul Newman, Robert Redford. You can't go wrong. Number 13, an unlucky number. I've never found 13 to be a lucky number because I'm a Gen Xer, and the Friday the 13th, the first movie, freaked me out of 12 years growth. 12 inches growth, whatever the damn cliche is. Three Kings comes in at 13th place from 1999, starring George Clooney and the great Mark Wahlberg and Ice Cube and Spike. Anyway, Spike. Number 12, Mission Impossible Rogue Nation from 2015. Number 11, The Killing from 1956, a classic by Stanley Kubrick. Number 10, here's the top 10 of the best heist movies of all time from Rotten Tomatoes, The Red Circle. Number 9, Dog Day Afternoon, one of my favorite movies, and that is in my top 5 best heist movies on my personal list. Al Pacino, and I've read that Al Pacino still takes acting lessons to this day. He is a true artist who is not full of himself. I love that movie, Dog Day Afternoon. I used to watch it endlessly on HBO growing up. Fish Called Wanda comes in at number 8. Charles Crichton directed it, who was a director of the old Space 1999 show shot in Pinewood Studios in England. I'm a geek. I love that show, but who could forget it? Man. Kevin Kline, Jamie Lee Curtis, John Cleese. Anyway, let's get on here and move on to something else because I'm going to wrap up the show soon and announce our special guest. We have a special guest this Thursday. I'm going to stop at 7th place. We got 7 left on this list. Let's stop at number 7. To tell you, I'm not going to reveal who it is yet. I'll reveal that at the very end, but I have an incredible guest who will be on the show. It's a phone interview, and I am delighted to have this person on the Pod Blast. You graciously agreed. I wrote the questions last night for pre-approval, which I received, and I'm very, very excited and honored to have this person on the show. And this will be a special Thursday Pod Blast on November 18th as we're live. If you're listening to this after live, this will probably be in your past, but it's going to be at 1 o'clock Pacific time in Hollywood and 4 o'clock Atlanta Eastern time. And what would that be? That would be 3 o'clock Central and Mountain time. If you're in England, what would that be? That would be 5 hours ahead of my time. 9 o'clock in the UK. But you're going to love this gentleman. Oh, I didn't want to reveal what sex. I just did. But I'll reveal who it is altogether in a moment. So there you go. There's another hint. It's a man. And I'm working on a woman guest, a female guest, not Lindsay Wagner, although I'd love to have her on. It's not anyone I've really talked about that much, but I have talked about her before. One of my favorite actresses, so accomplished, so wonderful. Hoping I can secure that interview as well, but I'm delighted with what I have secured, and you will be too. Continuing with our list of the best heist movies of all time at number 7, Hell or High Water from 2016, starring the awesome Jeff Bridges, the dude, and Chris Pine, who's in everything. He's the current Captain Kirk of all things, among other projects, and he's the son of the Sarge on Chips. Number 6, the actor who played Sarge on Chips, I should say, Robert Pine. Bob the Gambler clocks in at number 6 of the best heist movies of all time, and that was released in 1955. Here's the top 5 best heist movies of all time, according to Rotten Tomatoes. The Asphalt Jungle from 1950 by John Huston. He directed it. Great, great director. Marilyn Monroe. Or Monroe. You say Monroe, I say Monroe. Number 4, The Friends of Eddie Coyle from 1973, starring Robert Mitchum. Oh, he could play a heavy, meaning a villain, or a good guy. Just an incredibly versatile actor. Peter Boyle. Oh, man. Put it on the Reds. Anyway. And I have a heist movie down to the top 3 heist movies of all time, according to this list. I have one to tell you about that's in my top 5 that no one's heard of. And it's great. And I have it on film. And I'll tell you about it in a second. The Lady Killers from 1955, starring Alec Guinness, long before he was Help Me, Obi-Wan Kenobi in Star Wars. He was in The Lady Killers in 1955. Number 2, The Lavender Hill Mob from 1951. Directed by Charles Crichton, the Space 1999 director and director of A Fish Called Wanda we just talked about. Also starring the late, wonderful Alec Guinness. And number one, movies from 1974 on this list, The Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3. Directed by Joseph Sargent, who was primarily known as a television director of The Invaders and The Fugitive and a lot of television shows in the 60s. But I guess he made it to the big screen. He graduated to the big screen. And I'm sure he did films also. I need to research him. That's not a director I've really done a lot of homework on, but I will. I always love to learn and grow. But that's number 1, according to Rotten Tomatoes, of the best heist movies of all time. Walter Matthau, Robert Shaw. Robert Shaw from Jaws. This would have been just before Jaws was released. Shot in 1974 by the great Steven Spielberg, released in 75. But this was released in 74. And Robert Shaw also, of course, was the villain in the James Bond classic From Russia with Love, the second James Bond movie of all time. Wow. So there's your list. There's your list, according to Rotten Tomatoes. And this is something I'm going to revisit with the fellas, certainly with Al Hardy, this topic of heist movies. Because I could use a little video assist, even though I want to keep this show, when I do it solo, looking like a JVC camcorder that Marty McFly had in Back to the Future, Part 1 from 1985. Well, at this point, I had noted to give Al Hardy a call, but he called us, so we can move along past that. Let me just quickly scan the comments and see if there's anything else. If anyone's still out there. Goldfinger, Hillary Swank, yummy, Jason Wood says. She's in a new television show, too. Okay. Yes, okay, I've read those, so let's just move along past the heist topic. And if there's anything I missed when I revisit it, it'll be mentioned. Big whoop. Okay. Now I got a couple clips to play that are very, very brief. Some from my personal collection. Decades. I just talked about how Wonder Woman presently, as we're live, has a weekend binge marathon of Wonder Woman. Well, recently they had a weekend marathon of The Fugitive, starring David Janssen. And this is a screw up on CBS Paramount's part, or one of their employees, that I think is very significant. Al Hardy disagrees. Offline, I talked with him about it, and he goes, well, who would know? What average viewer would know that there was a mistake? Well, I'm a TV historian. It does matter. And let me explain. Let me read my little script I wrote to myself and to you men and women out there in the Pod Blast land. Recently, the Decades Channel had a weekend marathon of The Fugitive, and they concluded with the final 2-part episode titled The Judgment Parts 1 and 2. Now, a little quick background on The Judgment Part 2. I'm repeating myself because I mentioned this in the previous Pod Blast about The Fugitive and The Invaders, Quinn Martin shows. But the final episode of The Fugitive, The Judgment Part 2, shattered ratings records that were set. It shattered the record held by the Ed Sullivan Show's first appearance of The Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show. I think 80 million people tuned in to see Dr. Richard Kimball finally be set free. Spoiler alert, but it aired on August 29th, 1967, so it's been a long time. By the way, in my film collection, I have a film print of The Judgment Parts 1 and 2 with the original commercials from the original air date. ABC Network prints. They're prized film prints in my collection. You see Deanna Lund advertising cigarettes, Bel Air cigarettes specifically. I think those were a menthol brand. Right before Land of the Giants began production, which she co-starred in. Deanna Lund, look her up. She's deceased. She was a very attractive redhead and a very competent actress. I think she was a former wife of Larry King. God rest his soul. I love Larry King. Larry King. So getting back to the point. Okay, the point. William Conrad was the narrator of The Fugitive, and of course he went on to star in shows himself like Cannon and Jake and the Fat Man, and he just had a very distinctive voice, and he was the first actor to portray Marshal Matt Dillon in the radio play of Gunsmoke. But he had what I consider to be an iconic line, the final line in the Fugitive series that concluded the whole thing. The scene is the exterior of a courthouse in Stafford, Indiana, and Dr. Richard Kimball has had his hearing. Testimony was entered that exonerated him of all guilt. So he's free. And so you hear this wonderful final line, and I'm going to play it right now. This is the original line from the date that it aired. And this ratings record stood until November 21st, 1980, when the famous resolution episode of the Who Shot JR storyline aired in season 4 of Dallas on CBS. That broke the record for the final fugitive. So dang, that held from August 29th, 1967 to November 21st, 1980. That's a long time. So that's over 13 years. Geez, 13 years and a couple months. That's incredible. Let's listen to the very last line by William Conrad. And I'll explain. I'm going somewhere with this, folks. Bear with me. Listen.
Tuesday, August 29th, the day the running stopped.
End of scene, money in the bank. Ratings history was made, and that's when it aired. Well, get this. In Canada, viewers had to wait an extra week. September 5th, 1967 is when the final fugitive episode aired in Canada. Man, you couldn't pull that off these days with the internet, social media. That would be spoiled. Hell, even then there were phones. You could still call people long distance, and certainly country to country. And hell, both Canada and USA obviously are in North America and the America continent. So, it would have been that expensive to call, but I can't believe that they waited a week, but they did. And so William Conrad had to do a different take of that line to accommodate the Canadians. Now, that's the version that's aired on MeTV since 2013 and on Decades. And it just irked me that someone at CBS Paramount, it's not Decades' fault, CBS Paramount sent them the print that had the Canadian airing. Here's how the Canadian version sounded of that final line by William Conrad.
Tuesday, September 5th, the day the running stopped.
Bam. So I like the original take, and that's what's on my film print with the original commercials. Obviously, it's a USA print, not a Canadian print. In 1986, gosh, I have it maybe right here for the camera. A little low-budget video company called Good Times Home Video released the final two-part Fugitive, The Judgment Parts 1 and 2, but they used the Canadian version. So this goes way back to 1986, this mistake of releasing to the public in America the Canadian version. Yes, it's a minor point to Al Hardy's point. Who's going to know? Who's going to care? That's historic. That's television history. It does matter. And that's what this show's about. Education, as well as hopefully entertainment. And it's the clips, not me, this is entertaining. It's the clips, not me, because I suck. But I think, gosh, I thought I had that. I should have had that pulled for you. I'll show you another time. I have it on VHS. I'm surrounded by media in this particular room. Comic books, VHS, 16 millimeter film, 35 millimeter film, laser discs, and in other rooms too, not just this. This is my main room of media that I do the show at. And one of my friends told me, you need to turn the camera around, show some of your other stuff. I'm tired of looking at a bunch of stacks of comic book boxes. Point taken. So I'll work on that. Dang, I know where it is. It's in a box. I'll have to get it. It's a cute little video design. It's charming because it's so basic. Anyway, so see, someone at CBS Paramount needs to get on the stick and send MeTV, which prides itself, and they do an excellent job with social media and their spots, their promotional spots on MeTV, which is a free over-the-air classic television network, coast to coast and everywhere in between in the United States of America. It's a great, great network. And it's just a shame to me. Look, there's people starving in America. There's people starving all over the world. We have real problems. We have record inflation. We have terrible things going on. So it's like, why are you going on and on about this one line? It matters. I think it matters, and it's something that should be fixed. So what else was I going to say about that? And then the final, the November 21st, 1980 Dallas ratings record was smashed by the final MASH episode, Hello, Farewell, and Goodbye, which aired in 1983. on CBS. So at least it stayed in the family on CBS. CBS beat ABC's Fugitive record, and they kept it on CBS with the final MASH when it beat CBS's Dallas. So, and one thing I noticed, you know, I try to put new things in my head, whether it's books, media, movies, and television. I'm getting to the point where I don't want to just rewatch the same thing over and over again. For one thing, it's not mentally healthy to do that. And it's just, life is fleeting and time is precious. But anytime I see The Final Fugitive on, I've got to stop and record it and look at a little bit of it. If not, mainly not the whole thing. If I watch the whole thing, it's going to be my film print. But I did watch it, and I noticed something different. Diane Baker, who was in Straight Jacket, hell, she was in The Cable Guy playing Matthew Broderick's mom. She's just an incredible actor. She played Jean Carlisle, who basically saved the day. She was the hero, the heroine who saved Dr. Richard Kimball in that finale. Well, I love the wardrobe. I never noticed how the different colors played a part in the different scenes she was in. She's introduced wearing solid pink, and then lime green, and then orange, and then yellow. And then finally, here's the thing that was new to me. No matter how many times I'd seen it, I didn't catch this until now. She's wearing a fully white outfit in the final scene where Kimball's freed. White as in a bride. And I never, quote unquote, no pun intended, caught that before. So I thought that was really cool. So, okay, I played the final lines. I wish they would correct that. Now, there's 2 DVD versions of The Fugitive, which I confirmed. One has the September 5th line. One has the August 29th, 1967 line. Because there's 2 different DVD sets in America alone of The Fugitive. And I just think that's bizarre and confusing as hell. So I wish that someone at CBS Paramount would just, moving forward, unify it. If it ever streams somewhere, to August 29th, 1967. Okay, I am really being banal at this point, and let's move along as we start to wind down this edition of the Nostalgic Pod Blast. Item: Walt Disney does not yet own Charlie Brown and his gang of peanuts, AT&T, or Duracell. I just like to mention things that Disney has not absorbed yet, and nothing against Disney. They're massive. And when they bought the 20th Century Fox film and television library, what a huge acquisition that was. Part of me is actually, I'm more than part. I'm glad that they did. And here's why. Comcast, Universal, Xfinity, whatever you want to call it, was bidding to buy the 20th Century Fox vault. And that, I think, would have been a bad thing. I'm glad Disney did, because Disney's handling the Marvel stuff. If you're a Marvel geek like me, I like that they got the 20th Century Fox rights, because now they control the X-Men and the Fantastic Four properties that Fox owned. The only thing they need to get is Spider-Man from Sony in Japan, which they have a deal with, thankfully. And they must have a deal with Universal on some things we'll talk about next time. And that's a reference to the season 1 finale of She-Hulk. But I do love the Dole pineapple whips at Disney and Disneyland in California, in Anaheim, and Disney World in Orlando, Florida. Those are just great, great treats. Now, I'm going to skip the soundtrack game. Usually I'd play about 4 clips. I'll play a clip of music and you tell me, or think about, if we're not live together, you can't tell me. Just think about what the theme song is I'm playing. Oh, I do have an update here real quick. Let me get my clip ready. Let's see here. Yeah, I'm not on the ball tonight, and my voice is waning. There we go. It's time for our weekly update.
This is Jeopardy!
Wait!
Okay, I got to move this along. This is my favorite version of the Jeopardy theme from like the early 1990s. I call it the hyperactive theme. That's why I go wait, with the heavy use of synthesizer. And how about Johnny Gilbert? You know, he's almost in his mid-90s in age, and he's still announcing Jeopardy since day one, 1984, the Alex Trebek version of Jeopardy. That's incredible. So I've been watching again. Ken Jennings is hosting the syndicated Evening Jeopardy, and I really like that they have the Jeopardy of Champions. It's enjoyable. So that's all I'm going to say about that. And I'm going to move along. Oh, by the way, getting back to Wakanda Forever, I forgot to mention this. And by the way, Mayim Bialik hosts the nighttime on ABC Sunday nights, the Celebrity Jeopardy tournament, which may be long over with by the time you hear this. I don't know. About Wakanda Forever, I wanted to mention there's actually a Forrest Gump moment at the end of that movie. I'm not going to spoil it. That's all I got to say about that. But there's a Forrest Gump moment at the end of Black Panther 2 Wakanda Forever. It harkens back to something in Forrest Gump. And those that have seen it will know what I'm talking about. Gonna skip birthdays. I'm kind of getting away from the birthday thing because our friend at retrozest.com, Curtis, he does a daily post. He has like 30,000 members of his Facebook page, Retrozest. And he does a daily birthday. He's really good with graphics. That's not my forte. I need to get Photoshop. I still don't have Photoshop. If I could do that, there's little tweaks I could make to really take the show to another level. If I break down and get OBS, which is free, it's not about the money. I want to keep this a one-camera operation where it looks like a camcorder for nostalgia's sake. That's one thing I want to do. But also, I do need to get, in terms of my social media posts, I think I'm a fair writer. And I do have collectibles in my collection I like to photograph and put up there for the nostalgia's sake. Because most people, they're just there for the nostalgia. They're not there for this show or anything like that. And that's cool. It's all one entity. And I'm grateful for each and every person that's there and that listens or watches this show on occasion. You're very much appreciated. So we'll skip birthdays because RetroZest has that handled, and others as well, like Kimmer and other people that I watch and listen to. So, and I'm not saying I won't get back to that, but it's just this was becoming like the biography show because I get too long. That's why sometimes I'd go 6 hours with my research and notes. And it's important to, put your own positive and hopefully unique take on the careers of these people that we're honoring. But anyway, I'm just going to skip it this time. And maybe we'll get back to it next time. So we'll not do birthdays. Oh, I got to talk about this. My fake rant of the week. And I'm going to come up with some music. Here we go. The comedic car insurance ads are really getting old on television. It's just so funny when you get that $200 increase in your premium. Yeah, I'm just laughing all the way to the bank. Not. I'm tired of Flo. I'm tired of Mayhem. And I used to love both of them. And we've had an actor who's done a Flo commercial on a national level. Leonard Jackson. And he tells me the real Flo is a lovely person. And I believe him. But I'm just so tired of that shtick and those ads. And there's nothing funny about car insurance. I'm tired of the gecko on Geico. I'm tired of Emu. I'm tired of all of that. You can all go suck a can of Tab soda. There's nothing humorous about the way we're all fleeced by insurance companies. Now, who's to blame? As I said earlier, uninsured motorist and your state insurance commissioner who approves of these ridiculous increases each and every time. They get a kickback. You know it. And it's because he or she is corrupt as F and is totally on the take. I met with someone for a sales presentation that I was giving in the insurance industry who was actually laughing about how many of the skyscrapers in New York City are owned by insurance companies. He goes, take a look at the skyline. Most of those buildings, or a lot of them, are owned by insurance companies. It's pure profit. The premiums are pure profit overall. Yeah, there's risk and there's payouts, but not as much as the money that's coming in, the billions and billions of dollars. Oh, look at the gecko. It's so cute. Oh, look at Flo. Oh, it's so funny. I do like Mayhem, though. He's funny. But even that's getting old. Allstate. All right. We got to get a grip on this. We got to somehow get an honest insurance commissioner. And for God's sakes, get these uninsured people insured. So number 2 on our phony, but not phony, fake, not fake rant of the week. This falls into the conspiracy corner category, but it also ties into the heist theme that we're having with this week, talking about heist movies, the best heist movies of all time that we already covered. Okay, we had a record jackpot in the Powerball lottery drawing back on Monday, November 7th, 2022. Now, my question, ladies and gentlemen, is, was it rigged? Was the lottery rigged? Isn't it convenient? How convenient? There's an unprecedented 10-hour delay of the release of the winning numbers of the largest jackpot in history due to a quote-unquote technical error. I'm smelling some thick bullshit here. I'm smelling some BS here. Now, in a moment, I'll share with you of how this could have been rigged, my theory. But first of all, this is a USA Today article. And let's begin the article now. Quote, at Joe's Service Center in Altadena, California, it was worth the wait. A single ticket sold at the Los Angeles area convenience store won the record-breaking $2.04 billion Powerball drawing on Tuesday. A historic drawing for a jumbo jackpot that was delayed for almost 10 hours, testing the patience of lottery lovers everywhere. Nothing to see here, folks. Not. There's another nostalgic reference that's passé now. The winning numbers were 10, 33, 41, 47, 56, and the Powerball was 10. No winner has come forward yet, but the service center basked in the $1 million bonus for selling the golden ticket. End of article. Okay, now this is Chance Bartel speaking, so I'll take the heat, I'll take the blame. Here's how the lotto could be rigged. Just a theory. An unscrupulous person could use sand or liquid to weigh down each of the numbered balls of the game so that only the numbers of your co-conspirator's ticket pops up during the drawing. But Chance, the officials could be bribed or outright fooled. Now, you'd run the risk of others out there also having the same numbers, yes, where you'd have to share that mammoth jackpot. But there's another scenario, too, I thought about. I call it the rig and delay play. And the rig and delay play is announcing the winning numbers late, so you have time to use computer data to eliminate duplicate winners of your pre-selected set of winning numbers. So you have a set of several winning combinations. And it could happen. It really could happen. Have you ever seen McMillions on HBO or HBO Max? And that's a true story about the corrupted McDonald's Monopoly game. And I'm in the Atlanta, Georgia area, and the people that pulled this scam, but they got caught, thankfully, were also in the state of Georgia. That's why you never see the McDonald's Monopoly game where you get the pieces, there'd be a Monopoly board, yada, yada, yada. Well, this Georgia family that scammed McDonald's, they did it by gaining access to the winning game pieces with the marketing firm. Excuse me. And McMillions brilliantly, it's a 6-part series, chronicled all of this in this nefarious scam. And they used real footage from the investigators from the FBI, video footage from the early 1990s when this took place. And it's just an excellent expose. And I love that real surveillance video footage from the 1990s and that. So I highly recommend McMillions if you haven't seen it. Anyway, so I think the lottery don't you think it's strange? Just be a critical thinker with me now. A 10-hour delay? Come on, man. Come on, dude. Come on, dude. Now, finally, here's my third fake rant of the week, and this is a brief one. Eggland's Best TV ads that primarily are shown on Wheel of Fortune. They're a sponsor, and I love Wheel of Fortune. I love Sony. I love Jeopardy. So, and I've made jokes about Ken Jennings. Well, I like Ken Jennings now as a host. Okay, because I've been watching again. I've been watching the tournament. So I strike all that previous junk from the record. Okay. Eggland's Best TV ads. Specifically, there's a disgusting shot of a fried egg sandwich where you see this orange yellow yolk running, this thick yellow yolk running all over the bread. It's just nasty. And it reminds me, I'm not going to say it on this family show, of a joke by the great George Carlin, no longer with us, about what egg is. And anyone that has heard that bit knows what I'm saying. It just looks gross. I just wish they would reshoot that. I mean, keep them as a sponsor, of course, like it's my call, like I'm anybody. But I mean, I have no problem with Eggland's Best as a company. Just that one particular shot of a bunch of oozing yolk on a sandwich just looks nasty and disgusting. Okay, moving on. Item. Here's a fun fact for you. Did you know that Jennifer Jason Leigh, best known for Fast Times at Ridgemont High and more recent acting, she's a phenomenal actor. You know that she's the daughter of ill-fated actor Vic Morrow. Vic Morrow from Combat, and sadly, he was beheaded on the set of Twilight Zone the movie in 1982, which resulted in a long legal drama that involved the director, John Landis, director of Animal House and many other things. But it was a terrible tragedy. I didn't know that till recently. I didn't know. And she was estranged. According to Curtis from the Retro Zest show, we had a private conversation about this past week. He said, yeah, they were estranged at the time of his death. So kind of like Angelina Jolie and John Voight. Anyway, so, now, next brief feature, our weekly new feature, TV Cliche of the Week. It could be a concept or a line of dialogue. This time it's another line of dialogue. Okay, and we've talked about cliches like the concept of amnesia on television, where someone is hit on the head, and I think that comes from cartoons, the Warner Brothers or MGM cartoons of the 40s and 50s. But in live action television, there'd be a plot or a subplot where someone's hit on the head, they lose their memory, then they're hit on the head again, and boom, their memory returns miraculously. That's a cliche. That's an example of the TV cliche of the week, something that would not happen in reality. Well, here's the cliche line of dialogue, which has not stood the test of time. Here it is. A guy's in a bar, or a woman's in a bar, and he or she says, I'll have one more for the road. What? What the hell does that even mean? So you're actively trying to get a super buzz before getting behind the wheel of an automobile? I bet the women at MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, would definitely take you to task, if not beat the crap out of you, if they heard you say, I'll have one more for the road, please. I'll have one more for the road. By the way, it's so hard as an actor to convincingly play someone that's inebriated or intoxicated. Not talking in a comedic way, but in a serious way. To be believable. That's not easy to do, and I know of an actress that did it very convincingly that I'm trying to get on the show in an interview. We're going to have a contest for the next person that subscribes to the YouTube channel, The Nostalgic Pod Blast. I'm a little lax in that. I need to pump that up. Been great with Facebook. Excuse me, but I need to put more emphasis on joining the Nostalgic Pod Blast. So, and I want to give something that benefits you. I mean, what's in it for you? It's all about you. It's not about me. It's about you. So I'm going to give some prizes away, some DVD sets of movies and television shows. So we'll announce that now. We're at the end of the show. My goodness, I've got to announce who's going to be on the Nostalgic Pod Blast on Thursday, November 18th, live at 1 o'clock Pacific time and 4 o'clock Atlanta time, 3 o'clock Central time. Let me get this for you now. Yes. This person is a director, a writer, a creator, and an author with a brand new book that's out now. And, I can't wait to have this gentleman on the show. It's going to be so exciting. And I'm going to take your questions too. Well, then again, I better not. Well, I'll ask him. If you get the questions in by November 17th, just comment in the Facebook group, The Nostalgic Pod Blast. I'll do a post, and I'll ask him if he's willing to answer these questions, if it's something that he's comfortable with. But what was I going to do? I want to find for you now. There we go. It's Kenneth Johnson. And I wasn't delaying and struggling. Obviously, I knew who it was, but I want to mention he has a brand new novel out. And I'm going to remind you who this gentleman is if you don't know already. I know most of you do because you're savvy to nostalgia. And we have a very educated group here. All of you are very, very educated, very smart. But Kenneth Johnson has a brand new book out. It's called Holmes, like Holmes and Yo-Yo. No, anyone remember that old sitcom, Holmes and Yo-Yo from the 70s? Anyway, John Stuck. I can't talk. I'm losing it. John Schuck played a robot. Anyway, whatever. But it's spelled like Sherlock Holmes, like Sherlock Holmes, the famous detective from Scotland Yard. Holmes Coming is the name of his latest book. It's available now anywhere books are sold. Amazon. Go to Amazon and look up Kenneth Johnson, Holmes Coming. But he's going to be my special guest. I don't think he's going to be on for a full hour. Just however much time that he has, we will all appreciate. And he is the creator of many hit television shows. The Bionic Woman, The Incredible Hulk. He directed and wrote the very first 2-hour Incredible Hulk movie. V, the original miniseries. He helmed that as director, writer. All the stuff that he wrote and directed was excellent television. And he's done many other things too. Alien Nation, the television version. He's an author now and just an incredible talent. I met him at a couple collector shows as a fan, and he's very gracious to come on the show. So please be here live if you want to be a part of it. Let me know if you have any questions for Kenneth Johnson about any of the many projects, past and present and future. And let's just have a great discussion with him. I can't wait. So that'll be Thursday, November 18th at 1 o'clock Pacific, 4 o'clock Eastern time, and all the times in between. So thanks for listening to the Nostalgic Podblast. Go to fistfulofradio.com. That's where, if you're in another state, you can hear this program. It's on Saturdays and Sundays from 2 to 8 p.m. And it's on Monday evenings on fistfulofradio.com, but it's also on YouTube, the Nostalgic Podblast YouTube channel. And look up Kenneth Johnson on Facebook. He's occasionally, he doesn't post on a regular basis because he's a very busy man, but when he does, it's important, and he's a hell of a writer. So looking forward to that. So you guys and gals out there in Nostalgia Land, have a great week, and we'll see you later. And happy Thanksgiving, everybody. But we'll talk before Thanksgiving. Take two.